What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Thanks for making us a part of your start on this April 27th. Hopefully you all had a fantastic weekend. Big thanks for tuning in, whether you are tuning in on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Be able to stream up online at our website, sportstalk1051.com, WAYYradio.com. You got the app, download that, take it on the go. Also, your smart devices like Alexa and video stream, also up and rolling. What do we have on our game plan for us this morning? Well, we're going to take a look at the Packers draft class. Pretty small draft class, just 6 players. 6 players drafted by the Packers. Went into the draft with 8 picks, but they come away after a few trades with just 6. They take 2 corners, they take an edge rusher, they take a defensive tackle, they take an offensive lineman, and they trade up to take the first kicker of the draft. So, again, I don't want to grade. We don't know how these players are going to perform in the next, this year and the next couple of years and such. But I think we can also take a look at this and say, all right, your thoughts on, maybe filling in some holes, your thoughts on the players themselves from maybe what you've heard, what you've read, what you've studied, that sort of thing. We could all kind of assess and analyze, this. Who was your favorite pick? And what, just based off of potential, based off of needs and holes, or however you want to define it, without just essentially giving it a letter grade, because I get it why people do it. It's content and that, but still, we don't necessarily know how these guys or these players are going to do. So, but based off of the picks, what do you think, Packers fans? What do you think? Give me your assessment, all right? And then give me who you think your favorite player is. Curious to get your thoughts on that. But going back to Friday, too, before the draft started, more Packers news. The Packers re-signing, extending Jayden Reed. So Jayden Reed getting a 3-year deal, 3-year extension, worth around $50 million, $50.25 million in new money, including $20 million guaranteed. So Packers locking up Jayden Reed. Brian Gutekunst afterwards on Friday night saying, absolutely still wants to extend Christian Watson. Tucker Kraft's going to be in there too. And then possibly Devontae Wyatt. So I'll admit, I was a little surprised that they got the deal done for Jayden Reed before getting a deal done with Watson and Tucker Kraft. But honestly, the numbers too for Jayden Reed here, they're not that bad. Not that bad in terms of, I don't want to necessarily say bargain, but, just biggest thing that we look in this thing too is the guaranteed money, right? The guaranteed money portion of it. So once we find maybe some more details on the contract and such, and kind of really break it down, I think that's a really good deal for the Packers. And in Jayden Reed's case, hey, he gets a little bit more of a guaranteed, and he gets to hit free agency again at the age of 30. Maybe even gets to boost up his numbers a little bit more here too. So I think it's a good deal it's easy to say it's a good deal for Jayden Reed because, he gets to stay here and all that sort of stuff. But from the Packers standpoint, yeah, I think that's a good deal. I like it. And now you can move on and kind of go down your checklist here of, all right, who's next up sort of thing. So we'll hit that up and, of course, go through some of the comments after the draft from Goody, from Matt LaFleur, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but give me your analysis. Give me your thoughts on the draft. You can start to hit us up, 715-830-1912, or join in on the Section 105 chat on YouTube. Brewers, barely. They avoided getting swept by the Pirates thanks to a 5-0 victory yesterday. Kyle Harrison was rolling, the youngster. 12 strikeouts for Kyle Harrison. Picking up his second win, going 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, lowering his ERA to a 2.28. But before that, you go to Saturday's game, the Brewers falling to the Pirates with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. Brewers not able, and then go back to Friday, Paul Skeens had the perfect game going there for the longest time too, and it's like, oh boy. So it was, Brewers 3.5 back from the Reds for first place within their own division. They have the off day today before beginning a series against the Diamondbacks. But extra innings on Saturday, a 6-3 loss. Miz went 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, did strike out 9. But Angel Zerpa coming in and 1 earned run, 3 runs total, and and then, of course, Friday, not able to get next to nothing going from an offensive standpoint against Paul Skeens, who was just dealing a 6-0 loss for the Brewers in that game. So Woodruff ended up going 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs to suffer his first loss of the season. But looking at the standings here for the NL Central, it's the Reds division right now with the way things are going here. You've got the Reds sitting at 18-10. The Cubs are 1 game back at 17-11. Pirates, they're 2 games back, 16-12. Brewers and Cardinals both at 14-13, 3.5 games back. If you're looking at scoreboard and who is playing who in that, the Reds have the off day today before taking on the Rockies. The Cubbies will be traveling to take on the Padres. The Pirates will be taking on the Cardinals. And then, of course, Brewers starting their series against Arizona tomorrow. So we'll talk some baseball and talk a little Kyle Harrison and such here this morning. We'll throw a little Stanley Cup playoffs, throw a little NBA playoffs into this. If you are a T-Wolves fan, your team is just 1 win away from knocking out the Nuggets and advancing. However, some injury news. Dante DiVincenzo's out, an Achilles tear, another Achilles tear. And Anthony Edwards, I guess it could be worse, but he is out. If you saw the play, that knee, it just kind of gives you a little shivers. Probably Bucks fans, very reminiscent of Giannis and that bone bruise during their championship run. But hyperextended his left knee, sustained a bone bruise. The talk is that he will miss multiple weeks. But we'll see kind of that path with if the T-Wolves do get to move on. Maybe Edwards will be able to return here, hopefully fairly soon, because I don't care what team you don't want to see superstars like that, especially in the playoffs, get hurt in that. But Stanley Cup wise, as their playoff run here continues here, looking at the games from yesterday, Buffalo picking up a 6-1 victory over Boston. They're now up 3-1 that series. Colorado sweeping the Kings with their win yesterday. Tampa Bay ties their series up against Montreal, and then the Ducks leading their series against Edmonton. So coming up tonight for the Stanley Cup playoffs. If I can bring up the schedule here. Holy moly. Just a couple games on the docket. We've got Philadelphia taking on Pittsburgh. Philadelphia could move on if they pick up a win. And Utah leading their series against Vegas. They win. They can take a commanding 3-1 lead. But for probably a lot of you out there paying attention to the Wild and Stars series, they'll be back at it tomorrow, and that series is now tied at 2 apiece. So we have at least a couple more games on the docket for that one. What else do we got here? We've got, we'll do a little best of and worst of. So best and worst brought to you by VFW Post 305. What was the best from the weekend? What was the worst from the weekend? We'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. And we'll throw a little Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam in there too. So, but hey, let's get things going here this morning, shall we? We'll rock and roll. We'll open it up. We'll recap the NFL draft from this past weekend. Your favorite team, whether you are a Packers fan, a Bears fan, a Lions fan, a Vikings fan, I don't care. Give me your assessments. Let's try to avoid the letter grades here, but give me your assessments on how you think your team did. It's based off potential. We know this. And give me your favorite pick from your favorite team. All right? Doesn't have to be the first pick. Give me what you think is your favorite pick. All right? That's simple. Let's take our first break, and then we'll get things going here this morning. We'll be right back after these quick words. Spring is here in the Chippewa Valley, and that means it's the perfect time to also freshen up your home. At Carpet City Flooring Center, now is the time to take a look at what's under your feet and imagine what it could be. From soft, comfortable carpet that makes any room feel cozier to luxury vinyl planks and tile built for busy homes, there's something for every space, every budget, and every lifestyle. Maybe it's one room that needs a refresh, or maybe it's time for a full home update. Either way, their team is here to help guide you through it all, from choosing the right style to professional installation that you could count on, because spring isn't just about cleaning out the old. It's about bringing in something better, a brighter space, a cleaner look, a home that feels new again. So if you're ready to upgrade this season, stop in and see what's possible. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, where your next project starts from the floor up. Let's open up things here this morning on the leadoff. Let's talk, let's recap the NFL draft, Packers-wise. But if you're not a Packers fan, hey, I want to hear from you. What do you think of your team's draft? And give me your favorite player from your team. If you are a Packers fan, give me your assessment on the Pack and the Packers pick that you liked the most. So, and maybe, to add on to this a little bit, was there something maybe a little surprising for you that, I'm surprised they didn't do this or address this or get a position with any of their picks in that? So let me know. All right. But breaking it down here. So obviously Packers went into this draft with 8 picks. They come away with just 6. Moving around a little bit and moved up in the 3rd round and then moved back into the 6th round. So let's go through this. Their first pick at number 52 in round 2, they addressed their cornerback position, Brandon Cisse from South Carolina. Now, if we look at him, depending on your scouting reports and whatever ones you kind of look at, I think one thing is a very common theme is that he is very athletic. He's a very athletic corner. And if you watch some of the game film in that, you could look it up on YouTube if you want, but looks like he's a very willing run defender, playing towards the line of scrimmage and such. One of the reports I'd seen says you draft him more for tomorrow's tools and not for today's tape. The bad reps are going to be corrected. I like his makeup and his speed. So, I mean, he's got that prototypical size. You're talking about 6 feet, 5'11", 3'4", but 190. So he's definitely got a lot of upside, a lot of athleticism, a lot of explosiveness to him. Another thing that kind of popped out is he's very scheme versatile and coverage. So, I mean, a lot of things that you like on there, right? Very good at run support, playing run defense. I know a term or a phrase a lot of scouts like to use is willing in run support, very willing in run support. The athleticism, the versatility that he brings. The one thing that he could probably, or a couple things that he could probably, from all accounts, from all the scouts out there, that he could probably be a little bit better at is on-ball production, just consistency in coverage. And you would think, okay, hopefully that is something that gets corrected. But I think he is definitely going to be in play to be a starter this year. And it sounds like he's a very good press corner, very solid at being a press corner. So I think Keyshawn's probably going to be a lock to be a boundary corner. And I think right now you look at this, and with Brandon and St. Juste, they're probably going to be in competition to be that other starting outside corner. And from all accounts, too, where he was drafted, I haven't really seen anything knocking the pick, to be honest with you. I think for anything, it was a really good pick for that position where Green Bay was at, that he was still available and that he was the pick there. So you get a corner. We knew that this was going to be a top position of need. And from all accounts, it's a very athletic, very promising corner. And then the Packers move it up in the 3rd round, moving up a few slots to address their other biggest need, which was a defensive tackle from Missouri, Chris McKellen. And this is a massive, massive defensive tackle. We're talking about, if you want a defensive tackle that's got some huge hands, well, here you go. All right. I mean, this is a guy that is, you're looking at it. He's going to be your nose tackle and that odd front, if it's a 3-4. He's going to be a guy that's going to be asked to help stop the run. He can control the line of scrimmage, but he's, again, kind of like Brandon, maybe needs a little bit more polishing. Needs a little bit more, development. And don't take development as a bad word in this thing. Okay? Don't necessarily take development as like, oh man, so this guy's going to get on the field and be a producer. Not necessarily. This is a very big defensive tackle that you could plug in on your early downs. Plug it in the middle there. And let him go to work against, the center or the interior guards. You want to talk about some pass deflections with those big arms and those big hands, coming up the middle, pushing that pocket up the middle to get in that quarterback's face. This is a guy that can do that. You look at it for his career last year, dude did rack up 6 sacks along with 8 tackles for losses. His 3 previous years, he started off at Florida, just looking at 1.5 sacks, half sack, 2.5 sacks in 2024, but 2025 really jumped out there. So, this is a physical specimen. All right, you're talking about 6'4", about 315 to 320, depending on which one you're looking at. So, again, another athletic defensive player, adding to that line, adding some depth to that line. Then in the 4th round, Packers, again, maybe getting some really good value. They get their edge rusher, Danny Dennis Sutton from Penn State. And a lot of people, a lot of the experts, a little surprised that he lasted until the 4th round. So you kind of look at it. I wondered if edge was going to be one of those positions that everybody talked about Green Bay getting that maybe they wouldn't address in this draft. But you look at what he brings to the table and the value at that pick in round 4, number 20 in round 4, the fact that he was still there. You want to look at next-gen stats, and you want to talk about athleticism. This guy had the highest-rated athleticism score according to next-gen stats from the Combine. Number 1 out of all the defensive ends and edge rushers. He was ranked 4th, total score 4th from the Combine for defensive ends and edge rushers. Last year with Penn State, he led the FBS with 3 blocked kicks, 3 forced fumbles. He led the team, started all 13 games, 8.5 sacks, 12 TFLs, 12 tackles for losses, and a player comp for him was actually Kingsley Enagbare. But this is a guy that is very effective against the run. That's probably where he's going to be able to make his mark right away until he can fine-tool his pass rushing skills for a little bit more of a consistency level. But the fact that he was there with this pick, with the Packers were on the clock, you look at his size, you're talking 6'6", about 255 to 260. It was too hard to pass up. And I think this was a great value pick for the Packers to add a player of this level at the position that they were at in round 4. You couldn't pass that up. So I thought that was the fact that he was still there. So you got to pick him. You got to go get him. And they did. And now you get some really good depth, I think, at your edge rusher. A lot of potential. Obviously, Micah Parsons is there. Lucas Van Ness. We're looking for a big year from him. He is a first-round pick. And I know the depth after that is full of mid-round guys, late-round guys, maybe even undrafted guys, Brenton Cox Jr. But you look at a Barron Sorrell, you look at a Colin Oliver, you look at a Brenton Cox Jr., and now you look at Danny here. One word comes to my mind to describe all those guys. And you can even throw Micah in there and Luca. Athletes, athleticism. I'm very excited very intrigued. And I know I may be looking at this with maybe some rose-colored glasses and such, but I think that's what you got to do with younger guys and draft picks and guys entering year two that maybe didn't get a ton of reps last year. I'm excited to see the potential of these guys develop and continue to grow and continue to develop. So that pick, for what they were at, fourth round, a fantastic value pick, in my opinion. And then the Packers address their offensive line, interior offensive line, with their fifth round pick. They go to Kentucky, Jager Burton, and guard center. And this guy, you want to talk about, again, there is a common theme to a lot of these picks, all right? Next-gen stats, athleticism score at the combine for centers, number one. Number one, Burton. So they went back-to-back in terms of athleticism scores between these guys. I don't think that's by coincidence. But you look at what he is able to bring to the table in terms of what I honestly think he's going to be an eventual starter, whether it's going to be at center or maybe he's the eventual replacement for Aaron Banks. But in 2022, started 13 games at left guard. 2023, 3 at center, 9 at right guard. 2024, left guard, 10 games started at left guard. And then last year, started all 12 games at center. That position versatility. I think he's an eventual starter. I mean, you talk about position versatility, bingo, bango, bongo, fits the Packers. So, it's a pick that makes a ton of sense for Green Bay. And then they double down on corner. Hey, we heard Brian Gutekunst before the draft saying that's definitely a position that they're going to go out there and address. Well, and they grabbed a couple of corners. Damani Jackson from Alabama. Now, he's probably going to be a little bit more of a special teams contributor right away, but he's got the prototypical size when you look at it from a corner standpoint. You're talking 6'1", 195. Obviously, when you play at Alabama and you play in the SEC, you're going up against some darn good competition. And he's a fast guy. You're talking about a 4'1", 40-yard dash. Maybe he gets some time right away as a gunner on special teams. I did read one thing, too, that says a Tampa 2 and a deep zone coverage maybe suits him best. But you look at what Jonathan Gannon is going to run with his style of defense, the versatility, the three safeties, it kind of maybe fits that style. So I think you're going to probably see him more as that gunner role for special teams to begin the year. But one thing he does bring to the table is he is a physical corner. And he is not afraid to go and hit the ball or go and hit the player. And one of the things that popped out from some of the highlights I was watching yesterday, trying to rip that ball, trying to jar that ball free, trying to get that ball out. So a little bit more of a physicality presence from Jackson that he maybe brings to this group, which I think from a corner standpoint, we all welcome, right? And then the Packers trading up into the 6th round to get a kicker, the first kicker, and perhaps maybe the highest rated kicker in this NFL draft. And this is a kid that has a leg. He has got a super strong leg. Delivered over 50 yards at a high rate in college. In fact, made 77% of his kicks from 50-plus yards out, 10 of 13. And honestly, too, one of the things I was reading, he's actually available to be an emergency punter if you needed it as well. Good size with the ability to cover and tackle on kickoffs. But this thing, I think, Brandon McManus, I would not be surprised right now, I think you carry two kickers into camp. You've got McManus and then you got Trey Smack. But I think if Smack goes into training camp and he wins that battle, don't be surprised if Goody flips McManus for another pick in the 2027 draft. I wouldn't be surprised. I think the biggest thing, though, is going to be, okay, this kid played in Florida. How is he going to handle kicking in the cold? I know that's probably everybody's question. But he's got strength. He's got that leg strength to be able to hit those long kicks. And I feel like that in today's NFL, you've got to have that kicker that can hit from 50 plus. But the biggest thing is, can that consistency be there from 40 to 49? And I think that's something that Green Bay has struggled with for the last few years, is finding that kicker from 40 to 49. But I think right now, McManus is on notice. Green Bay doesn't move up in the draft, especially giving up the rest of their picks. And for the final pick of their draft, they're just going to settle on 6 players. They don't move up if they don't truly believe that this is going to be their long-term option at kicker. In fact, of all these rookies right now, I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that Trey Smack might be the guy that gets the most playing time right away, or maybe the one that is most, I don't know if effective is the right word, but I would be surprised week 1 that Smack is the kicker for this team, the number 1 kicker. But we'll see how training camp and preseason goes there before we declare any of that. But who is your favorite pick? I don't care if you're a Packers fan or a non-Packers fan. For your team, who was your favorite pick? Which one intrigues you the most? And what maybe surprised you? Like, man, I'm surprised they didn't do this, or dang, I'm surprised they actually went out and did that. Was there something that maybe surprised you a little bit? Let me know, okay? Let's take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Spring is here, and it is the perfect time for a fresh start and a new ride. Whether you're planning road trips or tackling some weekend projects, or you're just ready for something new, now is the time to upgrade. And at Toyson Ford, you will find a great selection of trucks, SUVs, and cars built to fit your lifestyle and your budget. Plus, their team is here to make your car buying experience easy and stress-free. This spring, drive something that you love. Toyson Ford, your next adventure starts here. So a couple of messages on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. We've got Mark says, I like what I'm reading on our new kicker. Good attitude, consistent, big leg, has kicked in big games in the SEC from Maryland, so used to colder weather. He's an athlete, former lacrosse player. C-Bomb says, for a team that drafts the best player available, the Pack sure addressed a lot of needs. Overall, I'm happy with the draft. I sure hope Smack is the answer at kicker. It will be interesting to see how the Florida prospect handles late December and January football at Lambeau. Josh says, definitely surprises me they traded up to grab a kicker. Surveyor Sam chiming in. This was yesterday on Facebook, saying, I truly think this is one of those drafts Packers fans look back and say, that was the draft that put us over the top. A corner that every expert said plays instinctually and hits like a hammer. A D lineman that can anchor a defense. An edge that will already have a connection with one of the best pass rushers in the NFL and knows how to play with his length. A beautiful interior lineman that will be a starter by season's end. A corner that has physical talent to be at least a major special teams contributor and the best kicker in the draft. It just seems this year they filled needs with 5 players that could contribute early instead of projects. Continue to send me your thoughts on the draft. Who was your favorite maybe pick, or what surprised you the most? Maybe something that your favorite team did draft or didn't draft. You know, you kind of look at it from a Green Bay perspective. I think you look at it, and with only 6 picks too, it is hard, obviously, to draft a lot of different positions and needs in that, right? But I guess I kind of look at it, 2 things that stood out to me. One, no wide receiver, which I'm going to get to here in a little bit with the Jaden Reed conversation. And kind of listening to some of Matt LaFleur's comments afterwards, maybe kind of paints a little bit more of a picture. But that probably stood out that, okay, they didn't draft a wide receiver a little bit later on, maybe for some depth purposes and such, but I think there's more to that. And then maybe you're like, okay, 1 offensive lineman. That's it. You look at it, backup tackle. Who's the guy then? You know, you got Kennard, obviously a veteran back there. He could probably be your backup left and right tackle and such. But, you know, obviously there's still the undrafted free agents class that's out there that they brought in, which we'll look at here in a little bit. No running back, although, again, they did that in their undrafted rookie free agent class. So that's probably, to me, is, you know, they got 1 offensive lineman. He's specifically going to be an interior offensive lineman. And they didn't address wide receiver. But again, I'll get to that here in a little bit when we get to the Jaden Reed one, because I think it paints a better picture, at least when we listen to LaFleur and such. And I think it relates to the Reed signing as well. I think my favorite pick, or the pick that I'm most intrigued about for Green Bay, I might go. It's hard because I think you can make a case. You can make a case for any one of these guys. I think Trey Smack is going to be the one that's probably the kicker that's probably going to have the biggest impact right away, because right now, if I were to make a 53-man roster prediction, I think he's the kicker. So I think he's potentially going to be the guy that has the biggest impact or the most impact on this team. But I think in terms of value and where they were at, it's hard not to look at that Danny Dennis Sutton pick for round 4. And you look at the value there and what he's able to bring. I mean, there was mock drafts I had him in the 2nd round. So, I mean, for Green Bay to be able to get him at that spot, I thought that was such a really, really, really good value pick. Now, I don't know how much he's going to be able to get into the rotation right away. I don't know where that's all going to come to. We'll see. We got lots of time to figure that out too. But that one intrigues me. And I was one too that I'll admit before the draft I was like, I don't know if they're going to draft an edge rusher. But considering where he was at and where they picked him, man, there's a lot to like there. Chris, I think the biggest thing that this team needed outside of cornerback depth, they needed a guy to play that middle. And they got a guy with, a massive defensive tackle. He does provide some scheme versatility too. So it's not just, I don't think, I had wondered is Green Bay going to get a nose tackle that is straight up a 2-down player. Your early downs. He's straight up just going to be in there to stop the run. That massive, massive body, like a Lee Hunter or Juice from Illinois, that you're just going to put in there first or second down to stop the run. Green Bay, obviously, I think did a little bit more with scheme versatility, but this is a very massive person in terms of hand size, arms, length. I mean, just you bring that to the table and you add a little bit more versatility to that too. So I'm intrigued with him as well. But I think from a corner standpoint, you look at the two, and especially with Brand, I think they got a little bit more athletic, and I think they got a little bit more physical from that cornerback spot. And when you look at Green Bay last year, I think it was pretty obvious, too, they kind of lacked in that department, physicality from a corner standpoint. How many times did we see Carrington Valentine kind of fail in the tackling department? And I think with these two picks, and Brandon, to me, is going to get more of an opportunity, at least right away, than Jackson. But these two, they kind of they bring that physical mindset, that physicality that position group in Green Bay definitely needed. They needed to bring that. They needed that to match like a Javon Bullard or an Evan Williams. Those guys bring it. And those guys bring that physical presence. And I think that's something the cornerback room was lacking. So I think having these two guys and both of them being really good athletes, I think they address that. I mean, I think every fan, and rightfully so, after every draft, yeah, there's going to be a lot to like with our drafts. And it fits a lot of holes. And then you read a lot of the positive stuff to it, right? But again, this is why I don't like to grade drafts just a day or a couple days afterwards, because we don't know how it's all going to play out. It's been a lot of picks and a lot of draft classes where we've been high on, and it just didn't pan out. But I think when you look at this class, it's good to be optimistic, and I think it's perfectly fine to be optimistic. There's definitely some intriguing players on this thing, and I think one thing is they got a little bit more physical, even with outside of the corners, their defensive tackle, their edge rusher. I mean, when you get an interior lineman who plays guard and center, yeah, that you're talking about a physical lineman. And then power with your kicker. That's the thing that really jumps out to me. 2 words I would describe these picks: athletes, physical. All right, we'll take a quick break. As we wrap up the first hour, we got to talk about this Jaden Reed signing. That's one thing that did surprise me over draft week, and I was not expecting that. I don't know if how many people were expecting that. But Packers locking up one of their young playmakers on the offensive side. What's the trickle-down effect? What does this mean for Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft, et cetera, et cetera? I think the signing affected the draft a little bit too. But we'll hit that up coming up in just a little bit. We got to take our final break for the first quarter. As we start to wrap that up, we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. Hey, coming up this Saturday, May 2nd, at our good friends, the VFW Post 305. They are doing the American Legion Baseball Meat Raffle. So, starting at 3 p.m., come on over and help raise funds to support American Legion Baseball. That's coming up this Saturday, May 2nd at 3 p.m. at our good friends, the VFW Post 305. And then it's going to be a busy day because May 2nd, that same Saturday, 4 p.m., you got the Derby. So have a little Derby watch party. You can come and watch the race with our good friends at the VFW Post 305, where they'll be featuring some food and drink specials, along with fabulous prizes for the top 3 Derby hats. Everybody's got a good Derby hat, right? Now, hats are optional, so you don't have to wear one to go over there. But if you want to win some prizes and have a little fun, you got that going on there too. So it should be a busy Saturday at the VFW Post 305, located 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Only got a couple minutes left to the top of the hour, so I want to save the Jaden Reed discussion for hour 2 to kick off hour 2. But I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, was I expecting that this to be announced this weekend? 10 being absolutely not. I'd probably be at like a 9, 9.5. I thought for sure Christian Watson would have gotten the extension first because, I know some people have health concerns in that with him, but if they go out there and he balls out, you look at some of the wide receiver contracts right now, that price tag's going to go way up. But Goody, we'll go through Goody's comments and such because he said he still definitely wants to extend him. But I thought Reed might be 4th on that priority list, and he ended up being number 1. So does that mean there's going to be an odd player out? Maybe not necessarily, but we'll hit that up coming up in the next hour. We got Brewers chat as well. Kyle Harrison was dominant yesterday, 12 Ks in 6 innings. Now you can see why a lot of people in the know were very excited about Kyle Harrison. Got that glimpse of it yesterday. Dude looked awesome. So, Brewers, though, well, they only won 1 game in this series against the Pirates. Paul Skeens was also awesome on Friday, nearly pitching a perfect game against the Crew. So, off day today for the Brewers before they embark on a 3-game series with the Diamondbacks before hitting the road to D.C. to take on the Nationals for this upcoming weekend. So, we got baseball talk. We've got your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Send those on over. Share it with the rest of the class. We'll do a little Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam. And then no Justice today, so I'll do my best to fill in for him for our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. I know this week, too, it's the final week for regular season action for Blue Gold baseball, Blue Gold softball. So, I mean, we're getting to WIAC tournament time already. So, that season just feels like it just flew on by. Holy moly. But we'll go through it all for our local sports roundup. So, continue to send me your draft analysis for your favorite teams, whether you are a Packers fan, a Lions fan, Vikings, Bears. I don't care. Who was your favorite pick for your team? And then what surprised you? Maybe a move your favorite team didn't make or that they did. What was a surprising pick for you? First hour's in. We got 3 more to go. We got some news updates, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Hour 2, quarter number 2, kick it off right now on this Monday morning. Thanks for hanging out with us to begin your rainy start, if it is raining where you're at. Rainy and windy here in the valley. But whether you are listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, or streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com, WAYYradio.com. You've also got the YouTube video stream up and rolling. So join in on the Section 105 chats over there, all right? So, but we spent the first hour talking some draft, recapping the Packers picks, taking a look at your thoughts. What was your favorite pick, or who was your favorite pick? Also, give me maybe what was the most surprising part of the draft for your favorite team, too? Kind of like, were you surprised they didn't address this position? Or, wow, I actually can't believe they got this person or this player. What do you got? All right, let me know. I want to hear your analysis. Okay, we got that Shoe Doctors bullpen line up. Again, we've got the Section 105 chat up and rolling. So before the draft, though, on Friday, before the Packers made their first pick, the news dropped that the Packers had re-signed Jaden Reed to an extension, a 3-year contract extension worth a little over $50 million. Including $20 million guaranteed. I didn't have that on my bingo card this past weekend. But I'll tell you what, I'm not opposed to it either. You know, of the upcoming, maybe we put Lucas Van Ness into this here too. I don't know, because now we got to figure out if they're going to do the 5th-year option. But Watson, Tucker Kraft, throw a little Devontae Wyatt, little Lucas Van Ness, and Jaden Reed. I thought Jaden Reed was going to was towards the bottom in terms of the priority list. And apparently we got that all wrong. we got that wrong. Jaden Reed was the first one to get that contract. And again, I'm not opposed to it, because I think Jaden Reed's one of the better playmakers on this ball club. He is everybody just kind of slots him into just a slot receiver. But he could do so much more than that. He could do a lot of different things within your offense. And I think getting him at this deal is actually a win for the Packers. I think for 3 years, a little over $50 million, with only $20 million guaranteed, I think is a nice deal for the Packers. I really do. And I think this also maybe kind of influenced the draft a little bit. Because Goody did acknowledge, too, I mean, he talked to the media on Friday, as he does after every round of the draft and such. But, you know, he did say that it's still a priority for this team, for this ball club, to sign Christian Watson to an extension, which I think a majority of us would like to see. I think the biggest, maybe, I don't know if hiccup would be the right way to say it, but I feel like, you know, you look at Watson's injury history. That has to be a factor into this. And I'm sure, you know, Russ Ball and the Packers are, you know, in their negotiating, are taking a look at that. You know, you start, maybe call it low ball if you want, but you start at that. Watson and his camp, they're starting high. They see what these receivers are now getting. I think we can all agree that when Watson is healthy and he's on the field, he is a dynamic receiver and probably the number one wide receiver on this roster. And Goody did say that the Packers, quote, absolutely are able to extend Christian Watson and Tucker Kraft even after Jaden Reed's deal. He said it's long-term planning that he and Russ Ball spend a lot of time on. Quote, we let a lot of really good players walk out of here this past offseason with the thought process that there are some guys we really want to lock up. That'll be the intention. We'll see where it goes, but I don't foresee anything being a problem. So Watson, to me, he ain't going anywhere. He's going to be there. They've got Reed locked up. They've got Matthew Golden. You throw Savion Williams into there. And Matt LaFleur, he also chatted with the media on Saturday for a little bit. And he was asked about, team losing Romeo Dobbs and then trading Dontavian Wicks. By the way, I don't know if anybody else saw this. This was a while ago, but Dontavian Wicks posted a picture of his locker in Philly, and there's a picture in a frame of him and Matt LaFleur like hugging or something like that on the sideline. So I don't know. You could go again to the whole, was he the guy or was he one of the guys complaining about reps and such? But Matt LaFleur was asked about the departures of Romeo Dobbs and Dontavian Wicks without drafting a wide receiver to replace them, how that changes maybe the offense. And his response pretty much was, quote, "It was hard to get everybody the amount of targets we'd like to get them." So I think Reed, Watson, Golden, Tucker, maybe throw a little Savion Williams. Sky Moore, I know, is on there, but to me, he's going to be more of the special teams. Green Bay for the longest time saying, hey, depth, spreading the ball around, this, that, the other thing. We don't need a number one wide receiver and all that. Now I think they're like, okay, maybe we got to focus on making sure we get the ball to our top playmakers, making sure that we really focus and feature some of these players a little bit more on the offensive side. And it makes sense. And I think, you lock up Reed. They're going to lock up Watson. They have Golden under contract for a little bit. They invested a third-round pick on Savion Williams. They're going to re-sign Tucker Kraft. That's a lot of offensive weapons that you're investing some money into. You got to make sure you're getting them the ball. And you got to make sure that you are making them a priority within this offense. And I think that's something that we're going to see more of a focus on, at least this season. So now, before the draft started, I thought maybe Green Bay would invest in a wide receiver mid-rounds in that. The Reed signing, I think, took care of that. And maybe just the overall vision of where this offense or what Matt LaFleur wants this offense to go back to. Hey, we're really just going to feature our main dudes, our main studs, because we've got a few of them. And honestly, let's be real. When you add in Watson, Reed, Golden, Kraft, 3 receivers, and a top tight end, that's more than what a lot of teams on offense probably have, and you got to figure out a way to get the ball to those 4. Oh, and by the way, you got a running back. You look at Philadelphia, and they've got a boatload of receivers and Saquon too. So, but I think we'd be all good if we can get a little bit more opportunities for Golden and continue to get a lot of opportunities for Watson, for Kraft, and Jaden Reed. And you look at those guys too. They all kind of bring a little bit something different to the table, right? I mean, Watson's your big wide receiver on the perimeter. He's got the speed. Matthew Golden's got speed. He's got great hands. Jaden Reed's kind of the Swiss Army knife. Tucker Kraft's probably your best blocking tight end, but he's a major threat in the passing game. Josh Jacobs is a good threat in the passing game too. Goody did say, though, if there was one thing that he probably would have liked to have gotten in the draft was another wide tight end, another inline tight end, blocking tight end, maybe somebody similar to a Tucker Kraft. So maybe that's kind of something that Green Bay is going to continue to look at. But now I think we're also entering that second, third, fourth, whatever phase you're or whatever we want to call it, a free agency. Because now, okay, teams, they've addressed certain positions, certain areas with draft picks. Now you're probably going to see teams revisit, okay, who's left out there in free agency? Who can we bring in for a veteran for a 1-year deal? Now you're going to see some of these veterans maybe starting to sign on those 1-year deals because teams now know, okay, we weren't able to address this in the draft. Let's look at bringing in a veteran for a year. If you're Green Bay after the draft, right now, what would you do in terms of this next wave of free agency? Is it bringing in another defensive tackle like a Calais Campbell? Is it looking for maybe another veteran offensive lineman to be a backup? Is it a veteran tight end? So if you are Goody right now, after this draft, put yourself in that GM shoes, what's a position that maybe you would address in this next wave? Let's call it the veteran free agency. Because a lot of these guys, if not all of them, it's going to be like one-year deals. What would be that position group that you would like to see? Maybe kind of plug in a few holes here. Hit me up. Let me know. All right. Okay, we got to take a quick break. Plenty more football talk throughout this morning. Let's talk some Brewers baseball. Kyle Harrison looking really, really good yesterday. But the Brewers dropping 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. So they are just sitting one game above 500 right now. So we'll take a quick break and be back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Hey, sometimes accidents happen, but getting your vehicle back to normal does not have to be stressful. And at Superior Auto Body, they specialize in getting your vehicle looking right again after dents, dings, or collisions. And the best part is that they handle the insurance process for you, working directly with your provider to make things simple and hassle-free. No runaround, no confusion, just quality work and a team that's got your back every single step of the way. So get your vehicle back on the road with confidence. That's Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, where the job gets done right. Switching gears and chatting a little baseball here this morning. Not the greatest of weekends here for the Brewer Crew as they dropped their series against the Pirates, only winning yesterday's contest. But let's go back to Friday night's game. Paul Skeens versus Brandon Woodruff. Advantage, Paul Skeens. Brewers only one hit, and thanks to Jake Bowers for breaking up the perfect game going up against Paul Skeens. Connor Griffin hitting his first ever career home run as well. But the Pirates had 14 total bases in that game. Skeens ended up going 7 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Whereas Brandon Woodruff, who got charged with the loss, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, a couple walks, 3 Ks. Drowan coming in relief, going 4 innings, giving up 1 earned run and a couple of Ks. But not a whole lot to write home about in terms of hits because, well, I mean, when you only have 1 hit and 1 walk, not really a whole lot to talk about. So going to Saturday's game with the Miz kid, Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. Thinking, all right, bounce back. We got our own fireballer out there, right? Flamethrower out there. We'll bounce back. Well, extra innings, Brewers fall 6-3. I mean, it was Pirates go up by 2 in the top of the 4th. Brewers put up 2 at the top of the 4th. Pirates go up 3-2. Brewers tie it 3-3. A lot of sacrifice flies, sacrifice hits for the Brewers to tie that up, and they had opportunities. In the ninth inning, maybe to get the winning run across the board. They weren't able to do it, and Pirates made them pay by putting up 3 runs in the top of the 10th to take the 6-3 lead, and the Brewers not able to do anything in the bottom of the 10th inning to get that or to tie it up or to keep that game going. Mizorowski went 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 9 Ks, in issuing 1 walk. Angel Zerpa getting charged with a loss, giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run, but 3 runs total in the game. So Brewers then facing a potential sweep yesterday. And you get the young flamethrower Kyle Harrison on the mound for the Brew Crew, and boy, did he step up to the challenge here. He looked awesome, picking up his second win yesterday, going 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, but striking out 12. Brewers able to shut down that Pirates offense, and the Brewers able to put up 5 runs. All the runs coming in the bottom of the 4th inning. Bowers collecting a couple of hits to lead the way, but Brewers able to do, well, thanks to Harrison pitching a gem and then getting at least some offense in 1 inning, able to pick up the 5-0 victory to avoid the sweep. Brewers now 14-13 on the season. They're tied with the Cardinals for last in the division, 3.5 back from the top team, the Cincinnati Reds right now. But Kyle Harrison, let's talk about some of the positivity that we saw from this weekend, and I think we go with Kyle Harrison. Obviously, this is a dude that came over, part of the Red Sox trade, and lo and behold, Caleb Durbin hit a home run this weekend. Andrew Monasterio, I think, hit a grand slam that I see too. But Kyle Harrison was kind of talked about as this could be the main piece or the prize piece in this trade. A lot of talent, younger pitcher, but put him in with this Brewers pitching lab, with this Brewers pitching coach or pitch coach staff, and see what this kid can do. And, well, this kid, he's been really impressive. You go back to his first start against Tampa Bay. He went 5 innings, 1 earned run, giving up a home run. Against Kansas City in his second career start, 5 1/3, 2 earned runs. Against Washington, 4 1/3, 2 earned runs. Against Detroit, three innings, 1 earned run. And against Pittsburgh now, 6 innings, went over 100 pitches, 12 Ks, no earned runs. Kyle Harrison so far this season, he is 2-1 with a 2.28 ERA with 30 strikeouts in 5 games started. The kid, is showing exactly why the Brewers, I think, wanted him as part of this deal to send over Caleb Durbin and essentially all of their third basemen to bring him over. He looked really good. We've seen glimpses of this in spring training. We saw it in the final tune-up against the Reds at American Family Field. We've seen glimpses of it throughout the season. I mean, his first start against Tampa Bay, going out there and throwing 8 strikeouts, for crying out loud. The guy's got a lot of talent, and there's a lot to be excited about with Kyle Harrison going forward. Dude looks the part. He absolutely looks the part. But you look at the Brewers' offense right now, and boy, they need Jackson Chourio. They need Christian Yelich. They've got to get some more bats, some consistency in this lineup from the offensive side of things. We're probably playing with some fool's gold. We're probably playing with a little house money, able to rack up a lot of these wins, and we called it treading the water, right? Treading the water until a lot of these guys came back. And, well, right now would really be nice if we can get some of those guys back here sooner rather than later, especially maybe Jackson Chourio and such. We need some more firepower in that lineup, in that offensive lineup. Got to figure out a way to get that done. In terms of pitching, just really quick, a Quinn Priester update. Don't expect Quinn Priester back anytime soon because he had another rehab start. And while if you look at it from a box score perspective, it may look better than his first game. And honestly, it probably was a little bit better. He's still struggling, though, to find the strike zone. So on Sunday, he walked 3 batters and found the strike zone with only 18 of his 45 pitches. So right now, there is no rush to bring up Quinn Priester. Brewers don't really have any injuries from their starting unit, knock on wood. And I think even if Priester gets those control issues, figured out and he's ready to go, maybe he's better suited to come in as a bullpen option. But right now, I don't think there's any pressure or any rush to get him in, to get him on the Major League Ball Club. They've got better options right now with a Logan Henderson or even a Coleman Crowe if they needed a starter. But that's something right now Quinn Priester's facing. This challenge that he's facing is figuring out his control issues, figuring out that part of it. And even like his miles per hour is just a little ticked down. But you look at the standings right now across the NL Central, as we mentioned, the Brewers tied with the Cardinals for last place. The Cincinnati Reds are 18-10, which means the Brewers and the Cardinals are 3.5 games back from them. The Cubs are in second at 17-11. Pittsburgh, 16-12. 16-12. Looking at the Cardinals, and this is still really early going, but the Cardinals right now haven't gone up against any teams that have a 500 or better winning percentage. This will be the first series for the Cardinals going up against the Pirates for that. Pirates have gone up against teams with a 500 or better winning percentage 12 times already, and they're 7-5. So just throwing a little nugget out there. But Cubbies are 2-4 against teams who are 500 or better. Brewers 1-2 along with the Cincinnati Reds. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. Don't forget to submit your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Send those on over. All right, text it to us on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or you can hit us up on the Section 105 chat room. All right, we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. As the fields are coming back to life, it's time for spring sports here in the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're stepping up to the plate or hitting the track or getting back on the field, make sure that your body is ready to perform. And at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, their team specializes in keeping athletes of all ages healthy, strong, and in the game. From injury prevention to expert care and recovery, they've got you covered every single step of the season. So don't let pain keep you on the sidelines. Get back in the game with confidence. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better to play stronger and staying in the game. Evil Surveyor said his worst from the weekend. Well, what's your best, though, too, man? You got to do best and worst. Worst, all the parents and siblings that are interviewed after their brother or son is drafted and make it all about themselves in the 30-second interview. My VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. I'll start off with my best. You guys, gals, see the Navy running back that was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers? Eli Haydenreich, 230th overall, 7th round. He is a Pittsburgh native, was there to draft, got to go on the stage, meet Roger Goodell and such. It was such a cool thing to see. And that's stuff like that, seeing that was awesome. The emotion from Eli too. I mean, come on. How can you not be romantic about sports, right? So for me, that was, I'll pick that as my best of the weekend. My worst of the weekend, T-Wolves fans. You're up 3-1, but man, Dante DiVincenzo, an Achilles tear, Anthony Edwards, at least it's not an ACL, but boy, that when you see the knee go backwards, it just gives me the chills thinking about it. It gave me flashbacks of Giannis and that championship run that season too. So, but he's out with a hyperextended knee and a bone bruise, which is going to be, right now reports say it's going to be out for a few weeks. So we'll see, if Minnesota could keep staying alive, win this series against the Nuggets, move on to the next round, and maybe, hopefully, Anthony Edwards will be back sooner rather than later. But given what that video looked like of his knee injury, you're probably saying, at least it's that and not a torn ACL. But I'm putting that as the worst because you don't want to see that in the postseason. I don't care what team or who it is. When it gets to the postseason, I hate seeing injuries like that. Especially where for like Dante DiVincenzo, I mean, it's going to affect him next year. And what's going on with all the Achilles tears? I saw somebody, and I'm not an expert in this, but I saw somebody post up on, I think it was Twitter. Is it something with the traction on the shoes now? All these different shoes, all these different sneakers, the different designs and that sort of, is it something with traction now? I don't know. And I don't want to pretend to know because I just don't. But man, it feels like there's a lot more of these. I mean, obviously with the football world and such, but I mean, look at the NBA. Dame, right? Jason Tatum, Tyrese, Dante DiVincenzo. And a lot of them are towards the end of the season too. So I know fatigue is a part of it with the muscles and ligaments and tendons and that. But man, I feel like there's got to be something else going on too. Especially, it was weird. But hopefully the T-Wolves can keep this thing going until Anthony Edwards comes back and maybe make a nice little run here. But when you look at where things are at right now in terms of the NBA playoffs, when you're looking at how things are, we got Cleveland, Toronto. That series is now tied at 2 apiece. San Antonio's up 3-1. Boston's up 3-1. Houston avoiding being swept by the Lakers even without KD. But the Lakers are up 3-1 in that series as well. That one, I thought Houston would at least be a little bit better, but apparently not. Orlando has a big opportunity tonight. They're going up against the top seed Detroit. They're up 2-1 in this series. Orlando wins tonight. Woo. OKC could sweep Phoenix with a win tonight. And then Minnesota, as we were just talking about, the T-Wolves, if they win tonight at Denver, they will be moving on too. That series has been chippy. We know the rivalry. They've got so many different connections from players and even front office, staff and such. So, I mean, there's connections galore. But, yeah, we're definitely seeing the chippiness of this series. Best of the weekend. Oh, man. Evil says, best of the weekend. Shout out to my buddy who shot a 25-pound double-bearded gobbler. Dang. Got any picks to share for that? If anybody's had any luck in the woods for turkey season, send them on over to the Sports Talk Facebook page so we can post them up and do a little brag board on our Sports Talk Facebook page. That's awesome. So, and with opening fishing coming up this weekend too, don't forget to send over those photos if you have any luck out there so you can do a little bragging as well. So, but Stanley Cup playoffs going back, since we're talking some postseason and such, with where we're at on how things stand. So yesterday we had a few games. Buffalo picking up the win to move up to a 3-1 lead over Boston. Colorado's moving on. They did a complete sweep over the Kings with their 5-1 victory yesterday. Tampa Bay and Montreal. Tampa Bay picking up the win to even up that series at 2 wins apiece. And then Anaheim. Anaheim picking up the overtime victory over Edmonton to take a 3-1 series lead. Philadelphia, if they win tonight against Pittsburgh, they will be moving on in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Vegas and Utah are also at it tonight. Utah is currently leading that series at 2-1. So that's where things are kind of standing right now with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Which one, if you've been following both the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs, anyone kind of jumping out more to you? There's been some good games in the NBA, especially with some of these T-Wolves and Nuggets games. I like what Orlando's doing, giving Detroit a big run for their money, but I still gravitate towards Stanley Cup hockey, playoff hockey. Man alive, that's some good watching there. But switching gears really quick over to Major League Baseball, or I should say back to Major League Baseball. So we were talking about the NL Central and the Brewers and such, but kind of taking a look at where things are at across Major League Baseball. The AL East. Big news yesterday with Alex Cora and a lot of his coaches, the Red Sox, firing Alex Cora. Even Red Sox royalty Jason Vertek. They're out. A lot of the coaches out. And right now, when you look at where Boston's at, they're 11-17. They were a popular pick to not only go to the postseason, but some people kind of thought maybe going to the World Series. And right now, dead last in that division, and they're 7 games back from the Yankees. And now they got Toronto coming up here. So, big move in the AL East with the Red Sox letting go of a lot of their coaches, including their manager, Alex Cora. But the Yankees lead that division, 18-10. Tampa Bay just still doing Tampa Bay things, hanging around. They're 1.5 back. They're in second. Those are the only 2 teams in the American League East right now with records who are records 500 or better. Everybody else is below 500. Baltimore, who's in third, is 13-15. Toronto's 12-15. Boston's 11-17. Same with the AL Central. Just 2 teams with winning records or 500 or better. That's Cleveland and the Tigers. Both are at 15-14. I feel like this is almost, how many times in the last few years has this AL Central been a team that, I don't know, like it's win-loss record. I feel like there's a lot of times it's been really close to this. But Minnesota, they're 1-9 in their last 10. So I'm sorry, Twins fans, we probably jinxed you, giving you a lot of praise to your start, but you deserved it. But they have lost their last 5 and are now 1-9 in their last 10. The White Sox 11-17, Kansas City 11-17. Another disappointing start for a team that came in with a lot of expectations for this year. To round out the AL, how about the AL West? 1 team with a winning record, and that is the Athletics, baby. 15-13. All right. Texas is at 500, 14-14. Seattle's 14-15, but they have won 4 in a row, so look out. And now they've got the Twinnies of Minnesota. Angels 12-17, then Houston sitting there at 11-18. Moving to the National League side of things, Atlanta, continuing their hot starts this season. They are 20-9 right now. They are the first team in Major League Baseball to 20 wins. Miami, they're in second, and they're 6.5 back. Atlanta is the only team in the National League East with a winning record or 500 or better record. Miami is in second at 13-15. Washington, 13-16. Philadelphia, 9-19, 1-9 in their last 10. And the Mets, back to another losing streak. They've lost 3 in a row, 9-19. The Phillies and the Mets tied for last place in the NL East, 10 games under 500. Whew. Gotta wonder if there's going to be some decisions made over there, too. The NL West, Dodgers doing their thing. They're 19-9. Padres, they're keeping things tight, though. They're 18-9. They're just a half game back from the Dodgers. Diamondbacks, the team that the Brewers are going to begin a series with starting tomorrow. They're 3 games above 500. 15-12, just 3.5 back. You got the Giants at 13-15, and the Rockies. I think the Rockies are playing better, even though they're in last. They're 13-16. I think the Rockies are actually surprising some people for maybe playing better than what people expected or thought they were going to do this year. And then, of course, the Central, which we already went through, the Reds, Cubs, Pirates. The top 3, Brewers, Cardinals. The bottom 2, Brewers and Cardinals, 3.5 back from that top spot. So this NL Central is still the only division where every single team has a winning record or 500 and better. All right, we got to take our final break right before we hit up halftime. So if you're just joining in, give me your best and worst of the weekends, your thoughts on your favorite team's draft. I'm not looking for letter grades here because I don't think you can grade letter grades. I think that's kind of pointless with rookie classes and such. But give me what you think was the best pick for your favorite team and what surprised you the most from your favorite team's draft. Maybe it was something that they didn't address that you thought they were going to. Or maybe I can't believe they actually got this guy. All right, hit me up. We'll take a quick break before we start to wrap up the second hour. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Road trip season is right around the corner. Are you and your vehicle ready to go the distance? Hey, before you hit the highway, make sure that your vehicle is in top shape with the help from AJM Automotive. From oil changes and tire checks to brakes and engine work, their experienced team will make sure that you are ready for wherever the road takes you. And now with 2 convenient locations in Eau Claire, getting your vehicle serviced has never been easier. So plan a trip and AJM Automotive will handle the rest. Just visit ajmautomotiveservices.com to schedule your appointment. All right, we got a few minutes left until the top of the hour when we get to halftime here. So coming up next hour, we'll kick it off. No JC and EC, so I'll do a quick version of some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. For Blue Golds and such, it's final week of the regular season for baseball and softball. Then we get to WIAC conference tournament time, so that's coming up here really quick. But we'll do a quick version of our local sports roundup. With that, we'll continue with your picks for best and worst of the weekend, brought to you by VFW Post 305. Also, we'll do a little Glory Days, probably in the 9 o'clock hour, brought to you by our good friends from Summer Jam in Eau Claire. Play more draft talk, football chats coming your way too. If you haven't had a chance to chime in and such, I don't care if you're a Packers fan, a Vikings fan, Bears, Lions, Browns, name the team. Give me your assessment of your draft class. Do you like what the team did? Don't give me a letter grade because we can't grade rookies until we actually see it in a couple years. But how do you think, from the class, who was your favorite player that your team drafted? Or who was the player that you're most intrigued with? What maybe was the most surprising pick for you? All right. I know you all got them, so let me know. Give me your thoughts. Text it on over. So, or hit us up on that Section 105 chat. But we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. Again, reminder, no Brewers game today. So no Brewers game on the radio and such. But they'll be back at it tomorrow when they take on the Diamondbacks. First pitch is going to be at 6:40 for both Tuesday and Wednesday, and then their getaway day 12:40 coming your way Thursday before they hit the road to take on the Nationals this weekend. So, but get a break from some Brewers baseball, and hopefully maybe this offense can get a little bit more consistent. Right now, they're winless in those Wisco jerseys, so maybe they're actually bad luck at this point in time. Man, when does that superstition start to creep through? Because right now it's there for me with those Wisco jerseys. Man, gotta do something. Gotta do something to get the bad mojo off those jerseys. But anyways, got a few texts to catch up on about some of their favorite players from this Packers draft. Nick, a little bit earlier, said that his favorite pick was the edge rusher from Penn State. So I think in a couple of years he's going to be a starter along with Micah Parsons. Another texter, don't have a name, can't give you any cred, but they liked Brandon, the first pick, the first corner in the second round. And then David said he actually likes the kicker that the Packers got in the 6th round. I think McManus is going to be on his way out, and Goody's going to flip him for another pick for the 2027 draft. Another texter, Eric, says his favorite pick is Brandon, the second-round pick again. That seems to be kind of the leader in the clubhouse. So I don't know if that's just because he's was the first one for a lot of people, or he fits a big need or not. But if you want, feel free to tell me kind of why he or what player is your favorite. Because, for example, Greg had chimed in a little bit earlier and said that his favorite pick was the defensive tackle from Missouri, Chris McKellen, because he is a massive human being, huge arms and hands. I think he's going to be a factor in terms of pushing the pocket up the middle and deflecting some passes. He did a ton of that in college. I think he is the anchor in the middle with Hargrave and Devontae Wyatt on either side of him. Another pick for Dennis Sutton from Penn State. That comes from Mike. And we did have another one for the interior lineman, Burton. That comes from Ben. He says, I think Burton is going to eventually be the starting guard, maybe even starting center if they move Ryan back to guard. I think this is going to be a guy that replaces Aaron Banks maybe even before the season is over with. Again, whether he's replaces Banks at guard or maybe Ryan moves back to guard and Burton goes to center. So, all right, keep those coming. Okay, keep them coming. Packers ended up with only 6 picks. It's a small draft class for a GM that likes to have as many picks possible. Even joked about maybe having 20 picks now for next year to kind of make up for it for this year. I hope people didn't take him too seriously, okay? So, but do you like what Green Bay did this past weekend? Do you like the potential for some of these players? Do you like, hey, trading up to maybe get the best kicker in a draft? Kid's got a big leg on him. Do you like that Green Bay's doing that? Even let me throw this scenario to you. Let's say, okay, you're looking at this thing. Would you still care? Would you still carry 2 kickers to open up the season just in case? Let's say Smack is kicking lights out, but Annis has a solid camp too. Would you carry 2 just to protect yourselves, just to be careful? What would you do? I know it's way early to project that, but look at what happened last year a little bit. Would you carry 2 kickers just to protect yourself because you do have a rookie? Or if the rookie lights it up in training camp and in preseason, roll with the kid. What would you do? All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back after these news updates for quarter number 3. All right, here we go. The third quarter is up and rolling right now. Happy Monday, everybody. Hopefully you had a fantastic weekend and you're ready for a brand new work week here. Thanks for hanging out with us and tuning in and making us a part of your starts. We'll get back to some more draft talk, some more football talk as we're wrapping up the NFL draft from this past weekend. Also the Packers. What's this? Oh, never mind. Also, the Packers signing Jaden Reed to a contract extension. So we'll hit that up and talk a little bit about that. We got more baseball talk on the way here, too. Brewers dropping a series against the Pirates, nearly getting a perfect game from Paul Skeens on Friday night's game, but then Kyle Harrison bounces back and strikes out 12 in 6 innings yesterday. So Brewers have the off day today before beginning a series against the Diamondbacks starting tomorrow. So plenty of baseball talk. Continue to send me your best and worst from the weekend, our VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Send those on over to our texting line at 715-830-1912. Just let's do a quick local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. No justice for this morning, so I'll do my best to kind of fill in here a little bit. But if we start off in the college level of things, I mean, we're wrapping up some regular season stuff here. Let's start off with the Blue Golds first, shall we? Baseball-wise, I mean, it was a busy weekend for the Blue Gold baseball team, and they are one of the teams that are going to be entering the final week of their regular season this weekend. So the Blue Golds had a doubleheader on Saturday against Platteville. They lost both those games, but then rebounded nicely to sweep their other doubleheader yesterday against Platteville. So Blue Gold baseball is now at 19-16 on the season. So they've got a game scheduled against Whitewater on Wednesday, and then they'll wrap up the regular season against River Falls, a doubleheader on Friday and a doubleheader on Saturday. So that Whitewater game is going to be at Carson Park. River Falls will be on the road. Then we got the Y Championships starting next week. Kind of the same thing here for, you got Menominee baseball here. So kind of looking at the Blue Devils schedule. The Blue Devils 9-26 on this season. They've got their final matchups are coming up this Friday and Saturday, a doubleheader against Whitewater. So they're going to be on the road. The Blue Devils getting swept in 4 games against Oshkosh this past weekend, losing both their games on Saturday and both their games on Sunday. And then on the softball side of things here, again, they're wrapping up the regular season this week. So if we look at Blue Gold softball coming up here, the team currently 26-10. They're coming off this past weekend where they had a doubleheader against La Crosse, and they split that doubleheader, picking up an 8-7 win in their first game and then a 5-7 loss in their second game. So they've got UW Stouts coming up on Wednesday in a doubleheader. It's going to be in Eau Claire, and then Whitewater in a doubleheader on Saturday. Both of these doubleheaders are going to be in Eau Claire, and their WIAC tournament also begins next week. So softball, as we mentioned too, UW Stout softball is going to be going up against Eau Claire. They will wrap up their regular season against La Crosse on Saturday, and that is going to be in Menominee too. So track and field season, I know we had for the Blue Golds, it was a busy weekend in terms of track and field. They were hosting the Dick and Mary Johnson Invitational. They also had the Drake Relays. But now we get the WIAC Championships coming up Friday and Saturday. So WIAC Championships coming up. Big weekend for both Stouts and Blue Gold track and field teams. So elsewhere, if we take a look quick here for a little golf action, shall we? Let's do a little golf action. Let's start off with the Blue Golds for some golf. So they just completed the SJU Spring Invitational. They've got WIAC Championship starting this week. So for the women's team, They will be going up against UW Stout coming up on Sunday. So got that on the docket as well. Let's stay with the Blue Golds here for a little bit because we've got we got a little lacrosse action going on. Yes. Okay. So Saturday they fell to Colorado College in Colorado Springs. So we've got WIAC championships beginning for them as well. Going back to Stout for some Stout action here. It was a busy weekend here coming up. Let me bring up the results here quickly. For the men's team for golf, they were over at the SJU Spring Invitational where they tied for 7th. But the women's team, they were at the Wartburg Spring Invite. They finished 2nd out of 10 teams. So a very, very good showing for the women's golf team. UW Stout flag football was also in action this past weekend. They picked up a win against the University of Northwestern Minnesota, and they also picked up a win against Augustana University and a win against Bethel University. They did fall to Concordia College, and they did fall to St. Olaf. So really busy weekend for some flag football action. But looking ahead, we've got tennis. The women's tennis team for Stout, they're going to be at the University of Northwestern St. Paul coming up this week. For the Blue Gold side of things, for a little tennis action here, because they're going to be starting to wrap up some things here too. The men's tennis team so far 13-4 this season. They defeated Milwaukee School of Engineering 4-3. They've got the WIAC championship coming up on Saturday, and then for the women's side of things for tennis, they're 13-10. A winning season for them too. They're coming off of a win against, a win against the Milwaukee School of Engineering this past Saturday. So that's just kind of a quick rundown looking at some WIAC stuff. I know we've got a lot going on in the baseball world, softball world for high school, track and field, and golf and soccer and all that. Brandon Berg will join us a little bit later on this week to kind of give us the latest and greatest in terms of the high school seasons too, as we start to maybe wrap up some of those regular seasons and getting closer to conference tournaments and maybe even some postseason action as well. So, but that's a quick local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We've got Zach on the Section 105 chat room saying, solid draft day by the Packers. Really like the edge from Penn State. I would have really liked to see them draft another lineman. Training camp is going to be very interesting with the kicking situation. Looking forward to seeing what Smack can do. So let's talk some more draft, shall we? We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these few words. With spring here, it's time to get back outside and to enjoy the season. And whether you're heading to the range or getting ready for hunting season or just gearing up for some time in the great outdoors, Tilden Gun is your local stop for selection, for service, and expertise. They offer a wide range of firearms and accessories, along with a knowledgeable staff who can help you find exactly what fits your needs. No pressure, just straight answers and real guidance. It's about making sure that you're comfortable, you're confident, and you're ready for your next outing. Spring is the season to get prepared, to get organized, and to get outside, and Tilden Gun is here to help you do just that. So stop on in and see what they've got in stock and see why so many in the Chippewa Valley trust them year after year. Tilden Gun, your hometown source for gear, service, and expertise. All right, so we've got Surveyor says, as a Packers fan, I'm incredibly happy with who they drafted. It seemed they addressed needs rather than best available. My personal favorite is the DT, defensive tackle from Missouri, a big nose that will gobble up double teams in the run, and with enough pass rush ability to help Hargrave collapse the pocket on the interior. With more QBs going to 3 and 5 step drops and the ball getting out in 2 seconds or less, you need a guy to push the middle to disrupt that first look receiver. Rick says, I think Burton was their best pick. Really talented kid and great value at that pick. Also, we've got a few more saying they like, or this was Ben also saying the defensive tackle from Missouri was their favorite. And then we had Smack. That's from Kyle, the new kicker coming over to Green Bay. So keep those coming. Keep them coming. Really quick, I think I saw. Oh, Brandon said, speaking of torn Achilles, maybe 0 isn't the number to wear in the NBA. Yeah, good point. That's another one there too, Brandon, who chimed in on the Section 105 chats on YouTube. But back to the green and gold here really quick. So looking back at this draft class, your overall thoughts without sending a letter grade. Careful of if you are reading blogs and articles and pieces that do grade these draft classes and such, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, and I'm not saying completely avoid them. Okay, there's a lot of good nuggets in there, but remember the context of everything too. Okay, so like one of these pieces that I was reading a little bit had the Packers draft class ranked 26th. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, I should say, but a lot of people probably see that and be like, oh, see, people think this is a bad class and blah, blah, blah. Biggest reasons were no first-round pick and not a lot of volume. There was only 6, okay? So context is key to this whole thing, and this is why I don't like doing that immediately after a draft, because what if all 6 of these end up being like major hits, and then you're looking at 2-3 years from now, it's like, dang, that class was huge, big time. I honestly feel like the player that's probably going to have the most impact or the most immediate impact is probably going to be their new kicker, Trace Mack. I feel like he's in a position right now where he's going to beat out McManus. I don't feel like you trade up. You trade up to go get a kicker. I feel like, he's already kind of, I don't want to label him starter, but I feel like he's got the advantage over McManus right now. And just out of curiosity, let me look at McManus's contract. It's not that big anyways, but I was just kind of curious. Does it open up like a couple of $1 million here? Let me see. So, yeah. He has a cap hit of $5.3 million. It would be a dead cap of 4.3, so you'd be only opening up a little under $1 million. Not that much. They did pay him his $1 million roster bonus. I don't think that really matters here at this point. But all right. Now, if it was next year, they'd open up about $5 million in cap space. So, but I feel like the kicker Smack is going to have the quickest impact right away at this season, because I feel like he's going to be the starting kicker right now. And that's not to say that none of these guys are eventually going to have impacts. When I look at this draft, there's 2 words that come to my mind. It's athleticism and it's physicality. Because I look at the corners. Let's start off with the corners here, okay? And you look at them, and you read all the scouting reports from the experts. You watch some of the YouTube clips out there. We'll start off with Brandon, their first pick. Or I should say their first pick in the draft. Okay, I know it's not first round. But you look at Brandon Cisse, and dude's fast. He's got great athletic traits, and he's a very good run defender from that corners position. Go look up Brandon's stuff on YouTube, and right away, depending on which video you watch, if we watch the same one, you're going to see a couple clips right away where he's right at the line of scrimmage taking down the ball carrier. I know a lot of scouting reports or scouts like to use the phrase willing and run support. I would say this dude, from what I've watched and what I've seen and some of the stuff that I've read, I think I'd rate it a little bit higher than willing. I'd say he's pretty darn good at run support. At least he's not afraid to get in there and mix it up. So you add the speed, you add the athleticism. He's a physical corner. And then even their 6th round pick, Jackson from Alabama. He's got speed, and he's another physical type of corner. I feel like he's probably going to be in line right away where he's going to be an impact player as maybe a gunner on special teams right away. But I look at these two corners, and I see that they have athleticism, and they bring a physical presence. That, to me, is something that this cornerback room really lacked last year. And to, I guess, pick on him a little bit, I'm going to look at Carrington Valentine. Because how many times did it seem like Carrington Valentine whiffed on tackles? We're probably replaying one or two in our heads right now. I know I am, as I'm saying this. I felt like they lacked a little bit of that physicalness from that position. Javon Bullard brought it. Evan Williams brings it. Xavier McKinney brings it. They needed it from their corners. And I think they did that with Brandon and Damani Jackson. Now, we'll see if Damani Jackson's going to get – he's a 6th rounder. I get it, and he's not a lock to make this team like Brandon is. But I think that's what's going to help him make this team is, can he contribute on special teams? Can he be that gunner? And if he brings that physical athleticism to the table, he's going to have a shot to get some reps. And let's face it, the depth of this cornerback group, I would say almost every single job is up for grabs. So don't immediately count out Damani Jackson just because he's a 6th round pick. Obviously, he played at Alabama. He's played in some big games. He's played up against some really good competition in the SEC. He's experienced down there. But I'm excited for these two because I think you're seeing a little bit of a change in terms of what they bring to that room, the style, the speed, and them just being more physical. And I think you have to be with some of these wide receivers in this league too, and, of course, in the run support. As a few of you noted, too, I really like what Surveyor said about, with Chris McKellen, the defensive tackle coming over from Missouri. I like what Surveyor said about quarterbacks getting it out quicker, getting the ball out quicker. And you need that massive guy to push the center guard combo up the middle and get in that quarterback's face. You bring up Chris's tape, and a lot of it, too, you're going to see, and if you read some of the reports, a lot of pass deflections. He's got those massive hands, those big arms, right? And I think that's a really good point by Surveyor. And I can't believe I'm complimenting Surveyor. But I think that's a really good point that you look at this. I mean, look at the Lions. They like to get the ball out quick, right? Same with maybe Caleb Williams and the Bears at times. We talk about playing press coverage and being aggressive in that. Well, they got a couple more physical corners, but now you bring in a guy that, he could push that center into the quarterback's face and get those big old paws up and maybe deflect some passes and kind of take away those options of a quick passing game. And I was one of them too. I looked at this draft. I wanted them to get a defensive tackle that was going to help stop the run. And maybe that meant more of a typical straight-up big nose tackle in the middle, early downs, first and second down type of defensive lineman. And his only job there is to help stop the run. Well, with Chris, and there was bigger defensive linemen that they could have potentially gotten to fill that role. Chris brings a little bit more versatility to that. I wouldn't pay him as just a traditional big nose tackle, like Howard Green or Gilbert Brown or whatever you want to say. He does provide some versatility and a little bit more pass rush into this too. So it's intriguing, and I think there's something there with that pick. That all right, I'm excited to see what the Packers can do with this, and you look at Jonathan Gannon, the success that he's had with some defensive linemen over the years too. It adds a little bit more intrigue to this. Dennis Sutton, I think, I was wondering before the draft started. Everybody thought Green Bay pegged as an edge rusher, and I was like, okay, is that going to be the position that maybe they don't get? Because it feels like there's a position group where everybody says they should go after, and they don't get one. I was wondering about edge rusher because they invested 2 picks into edge rushers last year. I think, given where he was at in round 4 at pick 120, the fact that Dennis Sutton was still there, it was to me, it was a no-brainer pick. Bring him in. Grab him. There's nothing wrong with having too many pass rushers in this league, especially with maybe a little uncertainty outside of Micah Parsons. I think there's potential there for a Colin Oliver. There's potential there for a Baron Sorrell. We're still a little bit up in the air about Lucas Van Ness. Brenton Cox Jr., he's great athletic player too, but let's also be real. There's some uncertainty. So protect yourself and maybe get a little bit more depth. And you got a very talented edge rusher. The fact that he was still there at pick 120, I think surprised a lot of people and maybe even surprised Green Bay at that point in time. One of the player comps is Kingsley Enagbare. Dennis Sutton is right now, he's probably best at stopping the run and run support. But you know what? Let's get him working out with Micah Parsons and such too, and then maybe develop those pass rushing skills. And then only one offensive lineman, but again, you only have 6 picks. You're not going to have a lot of bites at the apple. But you bring in a versatile interior lineman with Jagger Burton coming over from Kentucky. And it checks a lot of boxes in what the Packers look for in their offensive lineman. He plays multiple spots. He's played left guard. He's played right guard. He's played center. Hasn't played tackle. But I honestly feel like this is probably going to be a guy. I would be surprised if by the end of the season he's starting. And I think eventually he is a future starter on the line. Is that center or is that guard? Right now, I'd probably say he's going to replace Aaron Banks. Or Sean Ryan replaces Aaron Banks and he goes to center. One of those 2 scenarios is going to be at play. So he is, to me, in my opinion, an eventual starter too. Talked a little bit about Jackson already, and then, of course, Trey Smack, the big leg. A lot of people, top kicker in this draft. Did play at Florida, so I know there's some people concerned about warm weather coming up here. I know he grew up in Maryland. The frozen tundra. There's people debating about that. There's one thing we can't deny, and the dude's got a leg, okay? And we're seeing the trend in the NFL with all these teams. They want the power. They want the distance. But let's get some accuracy on this too. And the guy was 10 of 13 with 50 yards or more in field goals this past season. And kicking in the SEC too. Competition. Apparently he hit it off with the new special teams coordinator with the Packers, Cam Acord. So I feel like he is probably, of all these picks right now, Even though he's the last pick of this Packers class, he's probably a starter right away. But eventually, and I shouldn't. Don't close the door on Brandon Cisse either. I think right now Keyshawn's probably slotted in as a starter. I think after that it should be jobs open for the other boundary corner. And I think Brandon's got a good chance at getting that over Carrington Valentine or over St. Just. And I'm not saying that Keyshawn Nixon is the best option, but I just feel like given what they've got on the depth chart right now, that he's probably going to be locked in for a corner spot. But what I think these guys also do, they bring some competition. They bring some nice depth to definitely areas of big need on this team. And I'm excited. And I think that's what you have to be with draft classes, with players coming in. You're looking at some positivity. You're looking at, did they get better? I think the Packers got better. We can only base it off of paper. I get that. But I think they got better. I think, practically every team got better. But this fit needs, this fit holes, this got some depth into it. And I think you've got some intriguing talent here. Athleticism and physicality are the two words that come to mind describing every single one of these picks, even the kicker. I think they got a little tougher. And I think that was something that was lacking from this team, is just maybe that grit. Everybody says, got to get some dogs. I think they kind of got some of those guys in this one. I hope so, at least. I hope that transitions into the regular season. All right, let's take a quick break. I want to talk some Jaden Reed, too. What was the position group, if you're a Packers fan? And again, I want to hear, even if you're not a Packers fan, I want to hear your insight about your favorite team. Okay? I want to hear your insight about your favorite team. But what was the position group that maybe surprised you a little bit that they did not address, whether it was the Packers or your favorite group? I'm not going to speak for every Packers fan, but maybe was it a little surprise they didn't get wide receiver? I think after the Jaden Reed signing extension, it changed a little bit. And hearing Matt LaFleur talk on Saturday kind of reinforced that to me. We'll go through that coming up here after this quick break. Hy-Vee springtime party going on this week. We got tiki deals. That's right, tiki deals. So head to their Facebook page, the Hy-Vee and Eau Claire Facebook page, to check out some of their latest deals this week. We're talking about $5 for $5 signature brats. We've got look at that cake, $12.99 cookie cake. We've got pineapple on sale, King's Hawaiian rolls for just $3.99. I was over there yesterday doing some grocery shopping and such, and saw them putting up some of the decorations for their tiki deals and for their springtime party going on this weekend. With graduation season coming up here too, don't forget, if you got to get planning some graduation parties, maybe some food or cakes, they can handle that too. Catering, or in their bakery department, I saw some of their cakes out there for graduation and such. So that is that time of year too. So if you're planning that right now, look no further than our good friends at Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Zach on Section 105 says, really surprised they did draft a running back. I know we got Jacobs and Brooks, but we still don't know if Lloyd can stay healthy. Highlight of the weekend, best and worst of the weekend. Our VFW Post 305 one is Jaden Reed signing. The downside is the Brewers losing a few games. So Packers, Friday, it was reported before the second round of the draft kicked off that they had signed Jaden Reed to a contract extension. I didn't have that on my bingo card. I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card. And one of my position groups that I was maybe a little surprised, again, only 6 picks. It's hard, obviously, to address everything. But I was maybe a little surprised they did not come away with a wide receiver after losing Romeo Doubs to free agency and trading Dontavian Wicks. Christian Watson's going to get an extension. I'm pretty confident in saying that. Wasn't sure about Jaden Reed, so would they maybe go and get another receiver? I think the Reed signing may have changed that, but also I want to play a clip. This was from Ryan Wood, who covers the Packers, asked Matt LaFleur a question about, losing Romeo Doubs and losing Dontavian Wicks. You don't draft a wide receiver to replace them. How this changes your offense. I want to play this clip, and then I want to talk a little bit about this here. So, again, audio courtesy from Ryan Wood, PackersNews.com.
In both Romeo and Dontavian, I think there's something like 430 targets over the past 3 seasons that have left your offense in the past month. You haven't drafted a receiver. How does that change your perspective on the passing game as a play caller with having fewer options, but still obviously a pretty good top of the depth chart?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if, we're going to continue to push, especially the bottom of the roster, to try to help make us better. But I think I don't think we've ever lacked talent at that position. And I think a year ago, I think we all saw it, man. It was hard to get everybody the amount of touches that we'd like to get them. So I think this is an opportunity to kind of reset everything. And we've got more opportunities, I would say, for everybody in that room.
Is it much easier now to get Christian, Matthew, Tucker the touches that you want? Not to say that you want depth, but is it easier to make sure that those guys get fed the way that they should?
Yeah, going into it, I would say that, when there's less bodies or less proven bodies, then those guys are going to get the first stops at it. But it doesn't mean by any stretch that, everything is fluid in this league, and you got to go out and compete to be your best each and every day and earn your opportunity.
All right, so again, that was audio courtesy from Ryan Wood. And, you look at the last few years, and obviously the Packers have had a lot of depth in that receiving department. It's so much to the fact where, remember a couple of years ago, we were asking the question, do they need a number one wide receiver? Do they have a number one wide receiver? Do they need a go-to one? And the narrative was kind of always, hey, spreading the ball around, spreading the wealth and all that. And now it kind of seems maybe a change in philosophy. Now, I don't know if this is directly related to, kind of maybe some people unhappy with their role, that they had too many pass catchers, so there's not enough football to go around. Was it, trying to make everybody happy, and then ultimately, different scenarios where we try to make everybody happy, you make nobody happy, sort of thing. You look at it still, even with no Romeo, no Dontavian Wicks, they don't draft a receiver. Green Bay is still very top-heavy. I feel like they've got really good talent, maybe even more so than some teams at that position. You've got Christian Watson. You've got Jaden Reed. I think there's all the confidence in the world in Matthew Golden that he's going to be a really good wide receiver. You got Tucker Kraft in this thing, and you want to get him as many touches as possible. You throw Josh Jacobs into the running game here, and he's I would say above average in the passing game too. I think now, kind of listening to LaFleur with the Jaden Reed signing, knowing that Watts is going to be extended, I'm like 99% confident in that. I'm 99% confident that Tucker Kraft's going to get re-signed. You've got 3 pass catchers there. You can focus on, all right, how do we get the ball to our best playmakers? Instead of just trying to make everybody happy, instead of just trying to spread the ball out, how do we just focus on getting the ball to our best playmakers? And it's not to say that they got to be hyper-focused on one guy. I know a lot of people criticized, at the end of the Packers, Rodgers and Devontae Adams tenure, that Rodgers was focusing too much on Devontae. Well, after Devontae, there was Allen Lazard? I would argue that right now they've got more options than what they did then, okay? But to be able to maybe hyper-focus on those 4, the Watsons, the Krafts, the Reeds, and the Matthew Goldens, along with the running game of a Josh Jacobs, you get the ball in your playmakers' hands instead of trying to be all, hey, let's spread this out and make sure everybody gets their equal share. I don't care about that. This is the National Football League. It's not about equal shares. It's not about trying to make everybody happy. And I know you want to get guys happy so they're buying into your system. But right now, you got to win some ball games. And you got to win some big ball games. And by doing that is getting the ball in the hands of your best playmakers. So I think with that Wicks trade, I think we all kind of figured Dobbs is going to be out. I know there was some rumors that they were kind of having some informal conversations and such, but he was probably on his way out. Now you move on from Wicks. You get a draft pick in that. You don't draft another receiver. You're ready to roll with your top 4 pass catchers. And now you can build around them, and then you add in the running game with Josh Jacobs. Sure, if there's an injury, that it might affect, your depth a little bit. But that's the case for a lot of position groups. That's sports. That's the National Football League. It's going to happen. The one name that's still not being thrown out there is Savion Williams. To me, that is such a wild card with this wide receiver depth. You invested a 3rd-round pick into the guy last year. And I don't know if they know how to properly utilize him yet at this point. All right. Quick break, and then we'll wrap up the 3rd hour. We'll do a little Glory Days coming up in the next hour here too. We'll get back to some more baseball talk as well as the Brewers. How concerned are you right now, Brewers fans? Are you like, no, it's still too early? We're not into May yet. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be some stretches that aren't going to be the greatest. How you feeling about your squad right now? Quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the 3rd hour coming up in just a couple minutes. It's grilling season, baby, and no better place to go to stock up and load up than Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. And I want to draw your attention, too, because coming up in just a couple of weeks at the Northern Wisconsin State Fairgrounds is Barbecue Fest. And I'm going to be there for a little bit on May 16th with our friends at Mike's Star Market. But Barbecue Fest going on May 15th through the 16th. Got on Friday, Fairgrounds open for the grillers and vendors to set up and such. But social live music 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Friday night. But Saturday, oh, here we go, 11 a.m. Barbecue Fest is open to the public. We got a cornhole tournament registration. We've got music going on, 1 p.m., limited quantity of People's Choice ballots, sample cards available for purchase. So check it out at nwsfa.com for the schedule of events and such. But, yeah, I'm going to hang out for a little bit because our good friends from Mike's Star Market going to be participating, going to be over there too. So stop by and say hi. But with it being grilling season, with it being barbecue season, smoker season and that, get the high-quality products, get the stuff at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. All right, so coming up next hour, we'll get to a little bit more baseball talk. But, hey, continue to send me your thoughts on your favorite team's draft class. How do you think they did? All right, how do you think they did? Let me know. What was your favorite pick from your team's draft class? Or maybe the pick that intrigues you the most? And what surprised you the most? Maybe it was, man, I'm really surprised they didn't do this. I'm surprised they did that. I'm surprised they were able to get this person. Why did they draft that person when they were on the board and they were available? A lot of you right now, the biggest surprise in terms of Packers, you're going with the kicker. And I'll be honest, when I found out about it at baseball on Saturday, it's like, oh, they traded up for a kicker. I was like, really? But then you kind of take a step back and be like, okay, I get it. I understand it. Now we got a kicking competition. Unless for some reason Trace Mack just is awful, maybe a Brett Conway situation. Remember that? Luckily they had Ryan Longwell. They brought in Ryan Longwell in that. But unless it's something bad like that, I still feel like Trace Mack is going to be the guy to open up the season. So, but maybe in the next hour, we'll see if we get to it, kind of take a look at what the current depth chart looks like. And I call this the next wave of free agency in the NFL. After the draft, we're going to see veterans sign one-year deals, kind of plug some holes in that. So with that being said, for your favorite team, and in this case, if it is the Packers, what's the position that you would like to see the Packers maybe bring in a veteran for a one-year deal? Is it a defensive tackle, maybe a Calais Campbell? Do you feel like they need another veteran corner, another offensive lineman, maybe a backup tackle? What do you think is that position that you'd like to see Green Bay maybe add a one-year veteran to? So hit me up. Let me know. Okay. But I do want to get back to some baseball talk, and we're going to do a little Summer Jam Glory Days coming up in the final hour here too. So, but shot clock's going to cut me off. We've got some news updates, and then we'll kick off the final quarter. Flying through on this rainy, windy, wet Monday morning again, depending on where you are listening to us from. So I want your input. I want your expertise. I want your analysis. So I want to hear from you in this final hour if you haven't chimed in already. But we'll kick it off talking some more Brewers baseball. How you feeling right now, Brewers fans, about your team? You getting a little nervous? Getting a little nervous? Frustrated? You're like, nah, we're not even to May yet. Let's talk about it, all right? Quick break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. All right, it is the final hour of the fourth quarter coming your way on this Monday morning of April 27th, the last Monday of the month of April for the year of 2026. Thanks for hanging out with us as we've been recapping the NFL draft. We've been talking about Packers signing up Jaden Reed and a lot of good stuff there. So keep your input coming. Keep your analysis coming. I don't care if you're a Packers fan or you're a non-Packers fan. If you want to chime in on your favorite team, I'm an open book. I want to hear it. I want to hear some thoughts about your favorite team. Okay? So let's hear it. Do you think Goody, without grade, do you think Goody did a good job this past weekend? Would you give him a solid thumbs up? Maybe 2 thumbs up. All right, instead of letter grades, let's go thumbs up. 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down, 2 thumbs down. How would you grade? How would you assess? I don't want to use the word grade. How would you assess the job that Goody did this past weekend? Considering he did not have a first-round pick. So we'll get back to that. We got a little, continue to send me your best and worst from the weekend, too. Our VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. We'll do some Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam. Glory Days. What the heck is Glory Days, Dan? Glory Days? Just, the phrase, back in the day, back in the Glory Days, back in the day we would do this or remember that. That's kind of the theme here. So we do that every Monday morning. So that's coming your way here in just a little bit. But Brewers, not the greatest of weekends. It started off nearly a perfect game for Paul Skeens on Friday. So, okay, let me ask you this. I don't care if it's a Brewers fan or whatever you're a fan of, okay? If your team, because I was having this discussion on Saturday with some peeps at the ball field, and I'm curious to get the rest of you. If your team is on the opposite side of the perfect game. So, okay, Brewers fans, there's Paul Skeens is pitching a perfect game against us. And at a point, do you kind of if you know the game's out of your team's not going to win? I don't think we want anybody to have a perfect game against your team. But if it was going to happen, would you rather have it happen to somebody like a Paul Skeens instead of maybe a random pitcher, journeyman pitcher, or something like? I mean, it's Paul Skeens. So I guess if it was going to happen, at least it would have been somebody like Paul Skeens, who we know is a really, really, really good pitcher. So, I mean, does that matter to you? Or maybe it's not that big of a deal? I was just kind of listening to some people on Saturday kind of kick it around and such. And, it was. I'd say the majority was clearly hey, if it was going to happen, at least it was a pitcher like Paul Skeens and not, again, maybe a guy that nobody knows a whole lot about or is just kind of a journeyman. Not to take anything away from those because those are really great, but I think it's more so hey, at least it was against somebody who, is really, really, really good. But almost had that Friday. Extra innings on Saturday, had chances. Blowed it up there, but at least Kyle Harrison comes in like Superman and saves the day yesterday with a dominating performance, going 6 innings, 12 Ks. Kyle Harrison this year has, in my opinion, lived up to the talk. I don't want to say hype yet, but he's lived up to the talk. He is, for when that trade went down, he was, for lack of a better phrase, the crown jewel for the return to the Brewers. And a lot of talk about some of his nasty stuff. Kid is really talented. The potential is really there. We saw glimpses of it in spring training. We saw it in the last tune-up against the Reds. We've seen bits of it this year, especially his first game against Tampa. And then yesterday we saw it too with his 12 Ks. I mean, Kyle Harrison, 2-1, 2.28 ERA, 30 strikeouts to begin the season. And this is with him missing a start on here too. Because if we look at it from a pitching standpoint, Mizorowski's got 51 strikeouts in 6 games. Aaron Ashby's got 30 strikeouts in 15 games. But he's also did it in 18 innings pitched. And then Kyle Harrison, 23.2 innings pitched, 30 strikeouts. Let's go back to Aaron Ashby here for a second, because this even kind of took me by surprise a little bit. He's 5-0, 2.45 ERA. He has appeared in 15 games. He's leading the Brewers right now. 15 games, but in 18 and a third innings pitched, 30 strikeouts. 30 strikeouts in under 20 innings pitched. Against Pittsburgh yesterday, he struck out 2. Pittsburgh Saturday struck out 4. It has, how do I want to phrase this properly to give him his due? But has Aaron Ashby been maybe the biggest pleasant surprise? It's not like to say he was awful last year. That's why I don't know if that's the best way to kind of phrase it, but I think I'll tell you what, he's surpassed whatever expectation I think I've had for him so far. I thought he'd be a good, solid, middle relief kind of guy, but this guy has pitched in some tight situations, some big moments, and for the most part has come out of this thing unscathed. I mean, in the month of April alone, 13, just under 14 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts. And that is with 1, 2, 3, 4 games where he didn't record a strikeout. 1, 2 and a third, 2. So 3 total innings, if you want to break it down, because some he only pitched like a third of an inning or 2/3 of an inning. Those are pretty darn impressive. 9 Ks in the month of March in 4 2/3. Had 2 strikeouts, 4 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts. But Aaron Ashby's been playing at a really high level so far for this team. I know we like to throw in, where would this team be without so-and-so? Where would this team be without the performance of this guy? But Aaron Ashby's been doing a lot of the work. So, I mean, he's thrown 258 pitches so far this season. Let me see if I can. Well, in terms of innings pitched, it's Mizorowski, it's Brandon Woodruff, but I was wondering, can I get it? Well, how many pitches has Mizorowski gone out there? Let me just kind of compare that to Aaron Ashby. I don't want that one. I want this one. So Mizorowski has pitched a total of, so Mizorowski's pitched 459. Ashby is at 258. Okay. I mean, even the Miz, he hasn't gone a game that's been under, one game that's been under 90 pitches, and that was Toronto when he went 5 1/3, and it was only 76 pitches. But Pittsburgh, he went 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, and 9 Ks. The fewest amount of Ks he had was that Toronto game with 5. Otherwise, he's 11, 7, 10, 5, 9, 9. Just a strikeout machine. Where's Jacob Mizorowski in terms of league leaders and strikeouts? Let me bring that up here really quick. So the Miz is number 1. Number 1. Jacob Mizorowski is number 1 in Major League Baseball in terms of strikeouts. He's got 51. The next closest is McLean from the Mets at 45, and then Dylan Cease from Toronto's at 44, along with Gavin Williams from Cleveland. So, yeah, Miz is up 6 on the next closest player, and even Nolan's pitched 3 more innings, but Dylan Cease has only pitched 25 2/3, and he's at 44 strikeouts. Opponent's batting average, Paul Skeens is top. I think that previous game really helped him out there, but 145. So, I think the biggest issue right now, the bullpen has given up some leads and such, and still, I'd still like to see some more offensive support, some more offensive help with this ball club to help out some of these pitchers. Hopefully Jackson Cheerio's coming back soon. I know he's been getting more working in that, so hopefully, just fingers crossed, man. And Gelly. Be nice to get those guys back. Off day today for the Brew Crew before they begin a home series against the Diamondbacks, and then the Brewers will be back on the road taking on the Washington Nationals. I'm kind of like, can we get back to some division games and try to make up some ground right now? Because they're tied for the last place in their division. They've got the Cardinals coming up a week from today. And then the Cubs, May 18th. They haven't. When's the first time they play the Reds? Not till June? Is that right? Right after Father's Day weekend, June 22nd, they visit the Reds? Is that the first time they play them? I think so. All right. Interesting. Okay, let's take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. I want to get back to some of your texts and comments, so we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Don't forget to sign up for the 6th annual Kasper Classic. I know it's not till August, but spots are coming off, and spots are going to be limited. So you can just go to WAYYradio.com, sportstalk1051.com, or 715store.com to sign up your two-person team today, Friday, August 7th. Going over at Lake Hallie Golf Course, we've got a 7:30 a.m. tee time. We've got a 10 a.m. tee time and a 1 p.m. tee time. Who will come away with the title belts this year? Big thanks to some of our sponsors already, Window World, VFW Post 305. We've got Hy-Vee on there. We've got Superior Auto Body, Myron Construction. So if you're interested in helping sponsor, partner up with us to help support Backyard Dreams, reach out, or maybe it's just a prize donation, raffle donation. That would be amazing. All right, amazing. So your team fee of just $90, 9 holes of golf, cart, food, a couple drink tickets. It's a heck of a deal, right? So again, head on over to WAYRadio.com, sportstalk1051.com. You'll see the icon right on the homepage to sign up your two-person team. Let's do some Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam here in Eau Claire. So, again, Glory Days is kind of like, just, we've all used the phrase, oh, back in the day, or those were the glory days, right? Sports edition, sports-wise. And when I was looking some things up for this, I had noticed it was this day in 1983. 1983, Nolan Ryan became the strikeout king when he passed Walter Johnson for the most strikeouts in Major League Baseball. At that time, it was 3,509. Nolan Ryan finished his career, though, 5,714 strikeouts. So Walter Johnson had that record in 1983. Since then, he is now 10th. And there's a chance he may fall down to 11th because Max Scherzer is right behind him. Max Scherzer has 3,499. Walter Johnson, 3,509. But the top 10, Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, Steve Carlton, Bert Blyleven, Tom Seaver, Don Sutton, Justin Verlander, Gaylord Perry, and Walter Johnson. Man, those were and the thing is, I don't think we're going to see anybody break Nolan Ryan's record anymore. Because I just feel like with where pitching's at and the innings pitched and the longevity of these pitchers and that sort of thing, I don't think we're going to see it. Chris Sale is outside of Verlander, who's 43 years old, and he's number 8. Max Scherzer's 41 years old, and he's number 11. Chris Sale is 37 years old. He's the next closest, active-wise. He's 28th on this list, but he's 37 years old. He's got 2,617. Garrett Cole is 35 years old, and he's 61. He's the next closest active. So, I mean, did I just see it? Okay. Sonny Gray is 106. I saw Aaron, and I was like, is that Aaron's fault? No, it was Aaron Nola. So, but anyways, point being, back in, the good old days of these pitchers that would eat up all these innings, go deep. And here's the thing, too. Nolan Ryan, 5,386 innings pitched. Randy Johnson, this one actually surprised me, 4,875 strikeouts, second all-time. He only pitched 4,135 in the third innings. But back in the day, those were the glory days of workhorses, war horses, whatever you want to call them, when it came to starting pitchers. I don't think I'm going to see that again in my lifetime, especially in the near future. Not going to see these pitchers go out there, eat up those innings, and rack up some of those strikeout numbers. That is going to be, no, I'm not going to see it. And I don't think my kid's going to see it unless something changes here. But those were the glory days of these pitchers of, like Randy. I'll talk about it like when I was younger. Okay, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, before we knew some of the stuff. Greg Maddux is on here. Pedro Martinez is on here. Even Kurt Schilling, I'll throw him in there. CC Sabathia, John Smoltz. I loved 90s era pitchers when I was a kid growing up. when you're playing whatever Major League Baseball game you're playing and you're loading up on pitchers, it was always like a group of Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux, Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez. It was always a combination of those guys. You didn't have to worry about teams declining trades. It's like, I'm going to load up on pitchers, and it's usually going to be some of those, a combination of those four. But those were, to me, that's the definition of, when I think about a starting pitcher, I think about those guys. And even I got a little bit of a memory of Nolan Ryan towards the back end of his career too. But those are the guys when I think about pitchers. Whenever we get to debates and talks about putting together your all-time baseball team or putting together your all-time rotation or best pitchers of all time, it's those guys. Nolan Ryans, the Randy Johnsons, those guys. Because they went deep into games. They've got the numbers. They pitched for a long time. Looking at these pitchers, too, you're talking 27 years, 22 years, 24, 22, 20, 23. The longevity of these guys. It's amazing. And they would go through those innings. They played long, but then they racked up those innings. Man, those were the glory days of starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. And I'm not trying to take away anything from like a Paul Skeens or these younger dudes. I'll be curious to see where Paul Skeens, when it's all said and done with his career, where he ends up on this list, strikeout numbers and all that. Because I really believe that he could be a top 20. Right now, Clayton Kershaw is 20th on this list, 3,052. But with Paul Skeens, with his age, and if he has a good, clean bill of health throughout the majority of his career, would that be far-fetched to say he's top 20? No, but Paul Skeens also reminds me of an old-school pitcher. Man, those were the glory days, though. I think that's one record that's never going to be broken, is that Nolan Ryan one. All right, let's take a quick break, and we're approaching the halfway mark of our final quarter here. Let's get to it. All right, quick break, and we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes. Final thoughts on your draft analysis from your favorite team. Okay, final call for that. Hit me up, 715-830-1912. Going back to a little Brewers chat here, just because catching up on some of the messages. We've got a couple of you saying, not worried yet about the Brewers, but definitely, this is from Brian, by the way. Brian saying, definitely need better performance from the offense. This team desperately needs Jackson Churio and Christian Yelich to get back into the lineup. Hopefully they can continue to tread some water until those guys can get back into it. Another texter, don't have a name, can't give you any credit, but the texter saying, not worried about this team. We're not even into May yet. They're grinding through some of their injuries to their main offensive players. I just hope when the offensive players do come back that everybody stays healthy and that this whole team can actually play together. Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of where I'm at with this boat too. We're not to May yet. Okay, you're in a very tough division so far. Let's keep these pitchers healthy until Jackson Churio, Christian Yelich, a lot of the offensive players are back at it. Jackson Churio, by the way, he did take some cuts yesterday, but or not yesterday, a couple days ago. So hopefully that we're going to get to a rehab assignment here in just a little bit. But yeah, he was, because there's was it he in the batting cage? I think in Milwaukee. Yeah, taking some cuts in there too. So hopefully him and Andrew Vaughn. I don't want to discredit Andrew Vaughn or anything like that too. But I think we're all the top two that Brewers fans here are patiently waiting for him to get back is Jackson Churio and Christian Yelich, just to kind of solidify that lineup, because at the bottom end of this lineup ain't doing a whole lot. There's really no production coming from this. So if you get a Churio and a Yelich back and maybe kind of push down some of those hitters, it'll hopefully improve that. But just a quick, I want to see what Cooper Pratt's doing at the minor league level, because we need something from that reaction, because he's hitting 205 with a 608 OPS right now. I was really hoping to see something positive from an offensive standpoint, but all right, in 20 games, 78 at-bats, he's got 1 home run, 7 RBIs, 205 batting average. Ooh. All right, what about, can Jet Williams come up yet? What's Jet Williams doing? Let me bring up those numbers, because we got to get something from that side of the field. Offensively, we need something. He is 223. 2 home runs and 8 stolen bases. OPS was 644. These are all below career averages right now. So there's really nothing of the top prospect of these top names out there. There's not a whole lot. All right, I was kind of hoping maybe, but no, it doesn't look like it. Okay, back to the draft here quick, because I did see a couple things. Again, I'm not big into grading right after the draft, but I do look at some things, and I do look at, I don't necessarily pay attention. I don't pay attention to the letter grades that a lot of these experts look at, but I look at what they had to say about the picks and their analysis of everything. That's what I pay attention. I don't look at they got a C+ because of that and whatever. No. But one of them that I was reading during the break here a little bit was from Matt Miller from ESPN. And he had he has this piece up with kind of talking about some of the best picks, but best value. That's the word I was trying to find. The best value. And he picked Green Bay. Best value pick in round 4, He picked Green Bay with the Danny Dennis Sutton pick. As he said, I'd love to take Jermon McCoy like the other Jordan Reed did. But let's highlight Dennis Sutton's value. My 56th overall player fell to the Packers at pick 120 and will immediately boost the outside pass rush. With Micah Parsons' return date unknown, Dennis Sutton will have a chance to play early. The Packers did show up again on their piece, and it was the quarterback position. And this one comes from Jordan Reed saying, the Packers usually take a quarterback during the late rounds, so I'm surprised they didn't select one considering this was a draft to find a long-term backup. But with only 6 picks, they elected to not add to their quarterback room that isn't exactly secure at the backup spots, Desmond Ridder and Kyle McCord, after losing Malik Willis. I get it, but I also think they kind of answered the same question there. 6 picks. They ended up with 6 picks. If you're going to have a smaller draft class like that with just 6 picks, I think you focus on trying to find players that can help you out right now. Now, that's not to diminish backup quarterback, because we have seen the last couple of years of just how important the backup quarterback spot is in Green Bay. But if I had the choice of having a 7th-round quarterback or Desmond Ridder to start a game, I'm picking Desmond Ridder. He's got starting experience. He's got NFL experience. Is it a great option? Probably not. But honestly, we probably thought the same thing with Malik Willis when he first came to Green Bay too. A lot of teams, if you're going to be playing your backup quarterback, you're probably not going to win too many games, but you'd like to at least have a shot. And I feel like it's a better shot to have Desmond Ridder as your starter over a 7th-round backup quarterback. I'd rather have that, especially when you only have 6 total picks. That's just my opinion. And they did bring in a quarterback in their undrafted class. And it's a guy that Green Bay brought in. And honestly, I was reading a little bit about him before the draft too. It's this kid from Virginia Tech. And there was, let me try to find that piece that I was reading. I should have saved it. But he talked a lot about, during his visit, Drones from Virginia Tech, by the way, talked a lot about his visit where they said they kind of, envisioned him as maybe a little bit like a Malik Willis type of player. So be kind of curious to see how many snaps, reps he gets, in preseason. I know Green Bay has often at times maybe tried to limit those type of reps so they can release him and try to stash him on the practice squad and that. I think at sometimes, though, don't be too cute. But, yeah, Drones and Morton from Texas Tech were the only quarterbacks to take a top 30 visit with the Packers. The Patriots actually selected Morton in the 7th round. So it's not a big surprise that they decided to pick him up in the undrafted free agent class because they were familiar with him, bringing him over in a top 30 visit. He's an athletic quarterback. He ran for 3 seasons. He rushed the ball for 818 yards, 336 yards, 644 yards, combined 28 total touchdowns, threw for 2,085 yards, 1,562, 1,919, combined 44 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, throwing the ball at Virginia Tech. So you can see similarities of bringing him in to maybe like a Malik Willis type of quarterback. But I honestly feel that Desmond Ridder is going to be the backup. Drones is probably going to be on the practice squad. So they can maybe develop him a little bit more. So, of the undrafted, I know we haven't really touched on this, but of the undrafted players that the Packers brought in, I know they brought in Josh Jacobs' brother as an undrafted free agent. It's a neat story. It's a cool story. I don't know if he would actually have a chance to make the team, but you got Nixon at running back from UCF. This wide receiver from Florida, I'm kind of curious about, because if we just use the RAS, the relative athletic score, this guy scored incredibly high, 9.96 out of 10. That's 19, ranked 19th out of 4,190 wide receivers. This is a guy who's a bigger receiver, 200 pounds. So maybe something to kind of watch there in our annual Lindsey Pipkins undrafted or late round rookie watch when we get to preseason and training camp. That can maybe get on the roster. Another guy that I'll throw out there too is Geske from Illinois. Another lineman, interior offensive lineman, very high score in the RAS. So I'm kind of looking at those guys as some maybe guys to watch. So, all right, we got to take our final break, and it's picks time. We've got some baseball games. We've got playoffs in the NBA, the Stanley Cup Finals or Stanley Cup playoffs going on too. So, lots of games to pick. Let's get at it, shall we? We'll take our final break, and we'll be back to wrap up this Monday program in just a couple minutes. All right, let's wrap it up here on this Monday morning with some picks, shall we? Let's start off with the NBA playoffs, where we've got Detroit taking on Orlando. Orlando holding on to a 2-1 series lead. Even with it being in Orlando and me being a former Magic guy myself, I'm going to go with Detroit picking up the win to tie it up. OKC versus Phoenix. I think I think the Thunder sweep it. They get the win tonight. Minnesota at Denver. Minnesota's got Denver on the ropes. But with no Anthony Edwards, no Dante DiVincenzo, I do think Denver wins tonight to extend this series. But Minnesota holding on to a 3-1 lead. So let's go to a little Stanley Cup playoffs. We've got 2 games on the docket for tonight. Philadelphia at Pittsburgh. If Philly wins, they win. But I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think they extend the series. Vegas, Utah. Utah leads the series at 2-1. I'm going to go Vegas to even it up, though, at 2 games apiece. Now, let's go to some Major League Baseball games. We got a few games on the docket, not a full-on slate here, but let's start off with Tampa Bay at Cleveland. I'm going to go Cleveland. St. Louis at Pittsburgh. I'm going to go Pittsburgh. Boston at Toronto. Dylan Cease, Ranger Suarez. I'm going to go Toronto. We've got the Angels taking on the White Sox. I'll go White Sox. Seattle taking on Minnesota. Sorry, Twins fans. I'm going to go Seattle. You got the Yankees taking on the Rangers of Texas. I'm going to go Yankees. Max Fried's on the mound. Chicago Cubs taking on the Padres. Come on, Padres. Let's go, Randy Vasquez. Can you beat Matthew Boyd? Miami Dodgers. I will go with the Dodgers tonight. So, all right. Those are your picks for this Monday morning. All right. Coming up tomorrow, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So this is your homework assignments for tomorrow, all right? So listen up, kids. What's grinding your gears? I want to hear from you tomorrow. All right, think about it for a little bit. It's a feel better Tuesday because we're also doing some confessions, and I want to hear some sports confessions coming from you tomorrow. So that's your homework assignment. Give me what's grinding your gears, and give me some confessions. Also, you got a third assignment because with it being Tuesday, it is also I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Y'all got one, so I want to hear it, okay? Send those messages on over to us starting. Well, you can do it now if you want. I'll just save it for tomorrow, all right? So maybe tomorrow we'll kind of hit up best available in terms of the free agency in the NFL with the Packers draft now in the books. Maybe we'll take a look at what's still available out there for the Packers, maybe to address some positions of need, depth purposes and such. Who's some veterans out there that Green Bay could maybe bring in for like a 1-year deal in that. So we'll hit that up maybe tomorrow. We'll take a look at that too. So Brewers will begin a series with the Diamondbacks tomorrow. So hopefully we can win some games and get back up in those standings in the Central. Hopefully we'll get some bats alive. Maybe get some bats back too. That'd be really nice to get that. So we'll hit that up. Maybe the Timberwolves move on. Well, we've got Stanley Cup Finals. The Wild and Stars are going to be back at it tomorrow too. So that series is tied at 2 apiece. But we'll hit up that for a little bit. RJ will be joining us. Tomorrow we'll catch up on all things Badgers related, a little bit more in terms of Badger basketball. So we'll catch up with him and talk about Badger women's basketball too with the recruiting class that's coming in. There's a lot of talk about that. So plus some updates from spring football practice for the Badgers, maybe specifically a little bit more towards the offensive side. So we got some updates surrounding that. So we'll talk to RJ Cardinal about that coming your way tomorrow too. So, and then think about this too. I'll add an extra credit assignment to your homework tab. with the Jane Reed signing. Two parts. Who do you think is next in line to get a contract? Who should be the priority to get the contract extension? And another extra credit. If you're Christian Watson, if the Packers offer you a contract right now, and it's a pay raise, it's a sizable one, but maybe doesn't put you in the top 10 of receivers. I'm not arguing whether you think he's a top 10 receiver or not, but they're going to look for big paydays, and they're going to look at those numbers. If you put yourself in Christian Watson's shoes, do you bet on yourself this year? And if you ball out, maybe you get top 10 money. Again, it doesn't mean that you're a top 10 receiver. It's just what the market will give you. Do you bet on yourself this year? Or do you take the security knowing some of the injuries that you've had? And I get it. I feel like a lot of fans are probably going to say take the security. But seriously, try to put yourself in his shoes. What would you do? It's easy for us as fans to say, hey, take the security right now, maybe take a cheaper deal. Because a lot of us want that. But really try to put yourself in his shoes. What would you do? Would you bet on yourself this year? You look at it, it's like, okay, no Romeo, no Dontavian. I'm going to get some more targets. I'm going to be healthy, knock on wood, to open up the season. I'll be ready to go. I'm going to bet on myself and put up 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns, and make bank. Or, like, you know what? I'm going to take the security. It's still a good chunk of money. I'm not going to be paid as a top 10 receiver, but where I'm going to go. What would you do? All right. That's your extra credit, part of your extra credit assignment. Plus, who do you put on the priority list? And, okay, maybe I should spread this out. Do you pick up the fifth-year option for Lucas Van Ness? Because that deadline is coming up here quick. If you're Goody, do you pick up that fifth-year option for Lucas Van Ness? Knowing Micah Parsons, you got him, but after that, a lot of youngsters. Might be another tough call. But we'll try to hit up all that tomorrow. All right, so I'm throwing a lot at you, but that's because I want to get your input and your thoughts on it all. Have a good rest of your Monday. All right, stay dry out there. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, same place, same time, 6 a.m., the TDS Sports Talk Studios. We'll talk to you all then.